Live. Let me open up the old chat box, the chat machine, and do a little bit of chat and paste. I wonder if my brother's awake. I think one of the first things I'll do is I will go to his messenger and send him the link because that's what I do. And hopefully he hasn't been up all night, sleeping all day. Not that I can say much about since I slept all night and slept all day. So see, that's how you do it. If you're gonna sleep, do the whole go hog wild with it, right? If you're gonna oversleep. Then I woke up and shared some California roll with my puppy because there's nothing in a California roll that would be bad for him. Day old rice, some fake crab, avocado. I've decided to start actually cooking his food. I mean, we pay for the highest quality food for him, but I really think if I were to just like bust down this small crock pot and throw some chicken, sweet potatoes, carrots, and maybe even a handful of peas in there and just cook it all. Drain it really good. Maybe even let him drink all the drain off, and then dice it up and just put it in the fridge and give him, half a cup of that. I think he'd be a lot happier. That's the babushka we actually got this dog from. She told us that he never ate dog food the whole time he was growing up. He just was fed on like home cooked food, and this is what she said she always fed him. You know, chicken breast, sweet potato, carrot, and occasionally peas. And I really think I want to go back to that. Honestly, I'm sure me talking about cooking and feeding my dog is like super interesting for you. I apologize. If you want to talk about something super interesting, man, man, these files coming out, it's like every day they get weirder. It's like, and they're actually starting to arrest people, which is, I hate to say, for me, a little bit surprising because, you know, I try not to get black pill myself, but sometimes it just seems like these ultra wealthy weirdos never have to pay for their transgressions. So the fact that, yes, some of them are getting arrested, that's pretty good. Um, the oh yeah, Code Iron Oven has really been outdoing himself with his memes, and for that, I want to really tell him I appreciate him. Uh, one of these days, very soon, I'm actually going to log on to Twitter, and assuming that my Twitter account hasn't gotten banned for some reason, even though I haven't really been on it, I'm going to start posting like his memes and stuff. Uh, Now I saw that my homie uh, Holy Diver had a new meme up on Instagram, and I'm not sure if who did it. You know, if it was Cold Iron or not, but it's really cool. It's a good meme. I like it. You know, Holy Diver has been a homie for, you know what? Honestly, I don't even know how long I've been following Holy Diver. It's been a long damn time. You know, like I've been a Patreon supporter for him for like a couple of years at least. But that's because he's hilarious. Those of you who never watch any of the Angry Tabletop Nerd stuff, he is. I mean, he's not lying, but it's just his delivery and how he says stuff is freaking very entertaining. Uh, see, if I had my withers or weathers, as they say, someone like Angry Tabletop Nerd would be like a top level game channel on this show. Because you've got like Chapter Master, Valric, and these guys with all these people that watch him. In my humble opinion, they suck. It's like, I try to watch them and it's just like, man, these guys just, they're not doing it for me. Now, people got different tastes. That's fine. But yeah, they're just not doing it for me. But Angry Tabletop Nerd, he goes off on like, the thing is he's the only guy really on the internet, maybe a couple other people out there that are actually answering the questions about our hobby, whether it's whether it's role playing or tabletop wargaming, it's all the same thing really. And it's like people are so busy like tap dancing around the issue, but Angry Tabletop Nerd is one of the few people, yeah, definitely. And in my opinion, maybe the first one I saw that actually uh, confronted the stupidity, you know? Like the stupidity that we all know is stupid, but for some reason, no one actually says anything. And I don't think it's cowardice on people's parts, maybe. I think for a lot of people, it's just, I don't know. They just don't want to ruffle any feathers, even though they know for a fact what the truth is. And like a big one he talks about is this constant push to try and get more women into wargaming. And it's like, okay, but and of course, I agree with him entirely. This is also my opinion. Um, to get me into wargaming, no one had to try. I walked in, I saw some Baltec figures. I knew right away that that was just going to be a thing. And I grabbed them, and I've been playing Baltec since almost, I would say, getting on near 40 years. Close to, maybe 30, whatever, though. I was a kid. So if you have a product and you put it on a shelf, and there's this whole like segment of the population that walks in and without advertising or anything, they just want to walk up and see it, and they're like, "Holy shit, that's neat!" And they buy it. Afternoon, Tim.
Hi.
Then I think that's how it's supposed to be. But if you have to go out of your way to change your product and to try and trick people to play your product, like, hey, ladies, you can play Warhammer now because we've totally changed the lore and added chicks or something. That's to me stupid. You're never gonna. I mean, the people. If you do manage to draw any people in, they're not going to be actual fans. They're just going to be people you kind of bribed into the game.
Hey.
And you see it with role playing games too.
Yeah.
These games that they'll change all this shit around to try and lure a certain demographic into the game.
Look, the character that people used to love is now a black lesbian.
Right. And it's like, well, I mean, I don't like if I had a game I wouldn't want fans that I had to change my vision to make them want the game. You know what I mean? I would want
Yeah,
the fans that played the game
and enjoyed it.
as it was. And I think that's a thing that most people don't talk about too much. But Angry Tabletop Nerd, he goes into it. The fact of the matter is, and I'm going to paraphrase him, the reason you don't see a lot of women at 40K tournaments has to do with the fact that women got bear shit to do. When you're of a certain age, women have options that men don't. Especially if you're a nerdy guy and you know you're kind of shy or you just really want to play 40K or Battletech, right? Even your super low end mid chicks can find a dude to take them out on dates, spend money on them, buy them dinner, you know, take them out on the four wheelers or whatever is the fun thing to do in that part of the, you know,
Hang them out in the Camaro.
yeah, you know, cruise them around town in the Camaro, whatever, right? But when you're like in that age range as a dude, unless you somehow are independently wealthy,
Just not a new Camaro.
your options are pretty freaking slim.
New Camaros kind of suck.
That has nothing to do with anything.
I know. I'm just like
Just
my
wanted to-
Apple.
Hey, man, you hear what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
if you
I
have
know.
thoughts about it, contribute.
Fair.
You need to learn to be a better co-host there, Timmy.
I got distracted.
I get that way too all the time. So you know, I'm not even yelling at you. Me and you, man. Me and you like that. But yeah, that's why you don't have tons of women playing fucking war games. One, they don't want to spend their money on it because they'd rather spend their money on, you know,
A lot of better
nice
things to spend.
handbags and things, right?
I was gonna say a lot better things to spend your money on, but
I don't think they're
Or just
better,
different.
but does
Just
some
different
chick want to
things.
spend like $1,000 on a Warhammer army, or do they want to spend that money on like new clothes and cute shoes and maybe, you know, a high-end purse they can, you know, shove in their friend's face and be like, look what I got.
Yeah.
You know, that's what that is. I'll tell you what, I mean, if I were a young lady, I can only imagine. Yeah, I wouldn't have been interested in playing Battletech. Not if I could get all the high school jocks to ride me around in their freaking, like you said, Camaros, Mustangs, freaking hang out like that. I mean, so it's stupid is really what it is. The idea that, hey, you know, and another thing I don't understand, Stone Toss touched on this in a comic. Why is it that, and this is not a bitch because I understand men and women are different, but why does it seem like women have to be able to see themselves in something to be interested in it? Men don't. And just to describe the comic, in the comic, it shows this little black girl watching Black Ariel, and she's like, oh, she looks just like me. And then in the second panel, it shows all these young dudes, and there's black dudes and Asian dudes and white dudes, and they're all like leaned in watching Dragon Ball Z, and they're all like, holy shit, Goku is cool, you know? And
Yeah.
I wonder, is it really like that? Like,
Yes, it is 100% like that. You'll see. I think most everybody not care about what looks like them. Is more interested in what's cool.
yeah,
And then
I
there's
mean,
this like the small subset
I'm just saying,
that'll
is it
just be
really
like,
like that with guys? Like, we don't care if we look like whatever we're watching, as long as what we're watching is badass.
yeah, it is. I mean,
Well,
heck,
that's a damn shame then.
why? I mean, look, I like
Well, it's a
Static
shame for
Shock,
the
and
women who can't enjoy shit just because whatever they're watching doesn't look.
I don't even
just
think
like
it's
them.
most women like that either. I think this is a weird thing.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think that regardless of what a woman looked like, they all knew they wanted to wear whatever Marilyn Monroe was wearing back in that time. You know,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if she's black, Latina, white, whatever. They all know You know, they all want to be Jacqueline Kennedy, right? They all want to be Marilyn Monroe.
It's like that during the Victorian era. There was a lot of weird fashion statements for women that they got. One was because of like this one woman with a limp.
Dude, the Victorian era was weird.
A lot of things were weird.
Yeah, a lot of things are weird, but so yeah, that's the thing. I guess is just that you know people you're this idea that changing a game to try to attract that other audience when you already have an audience is not a good idea. I guess that's all
No,
I'm saying about that.
it'll
It's not a
it'll
good idea.
it'll basically destroy the franchise because a lot of people who like it will just leave, and then
And
those
that's
people that you're
kind of
trying to
what
get,
started this.
yeah, a lot of people that you're trying to get won't buy it anyway. So you're killing your current audience for one that won't even do
That's
anything with
not
it.
actually going to show up.
Yeah,
See, and that's what kind of inspired this. Is I watch Holy Diver. I like Holy Diver. Everybody knows that. And it's like even Holy Diver is talking about boycotting the shit out of Games Workshop. And Holy Diver, as long as I have known this guy, which, like I said, is going on at least maybe 10 years, has been always about 40K. You know, he went through a period where he was really hardcore into Kings of War, but I mean, Warhammer stuff was always going to be one of his true loves, right? And now all of a sudden he's all like, no, F that. And it's like, congratulations, Games Workshop. You have managed to drive off fans and did I call you? Oh, I thought I left a link on your message. Did you not get that, Haas? My brother.
yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it's like, so they already lost me a while back. And I used to be like super hardcore. Like, you could say they still kind of got me because I did buy a bunch of Legion Imperialis stuff. So they got me a little bit. They got me to a small degree because I do have Legion Imperialis stuff. But as far as actual mainstream 40K, I'm completely done with it. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
haven't even played a game of 30K in so long that it's like I'm
you're kind of
starting.
making me happy. I never got into it.
Well, I mean, if you had gotten into it, you might have absolutely loved it. For the
Yeah,
longest time, I absolutely loved it. Even when they did stupid shit. Oh, he's in a dungeon.
what's he
Well,
playing?
that's what you get when you go home with strange people at night from the bar. Wake up in a dungeon. I've warned you about that. But
It must
anyway,
be with
yeah.
Shadow.
Yeah. Were you hanging out with Shadow last night? Now you woke up in a dungeon? I mean, the good news is at least you'll have plenty of company. I just hope you speak Filipino. Tagalong, I think, is the name of the language they speak. Tagalong.
Talk about dungeon, man. Last night's game was really great.
Really great.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of loot. We had to fight off 5 trolls.
Ooh, 5 trolls. That is like TPK in the making right there.
Well, the thing is, I used Flame Strike, nearly killed 2, like 3 of them, almost 3 of them, I think. One
Yeah.
of them took it decently well. The other one survived with 1 HP.
Well, it sounds to me like you guys are working better as a team then if you survived 5 trolls jumping you.
The other guy used Wall of Stone to basically cut off 3 of them so they couldn't attack us.
Ah, so you split the enemy and then took care of them.
We didn't kill
one
3 of
piece
them,
at a
so
time, basically.
we
right?
technically didn't kill 3 of them. With 3 of them survived, including the one with 1 HP.
Well, okay, but technically you defeated them, right?
Yeah, we got away. We didn't die to them.
You
We got
didn't
out of
die.
there.
You killed a couple of them.
Yep.
No, that's all good, man. People, I think modern players who have never experienced old school just have no idea how effed up a troll or a group of trolls can really be.
Yeah, no. Players were already going like, oh, well, we're going to fucking die. It's like, can we run away from this? No, there's 2 people who can't even, like, even if we drop the loot, 2 of us can only go 20 feet. This is
Yeah,
bad.
wearing all that armor and stuff.
Yep. And then we just like,
everybody loves to wear armor until it's time to run away from something, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, shit.
yeah. Here's the thing: if they left me, that wouldn't hurt me too much because one thing I could technically do is use word of recall.
Right.
I could word of recall myself back home.
Sanctuary.
I don't
know how that spell works in Dragon Slayer, but I do remember that. At least if my memory is correct, and it may or may not be, it made it where monsters couldn't attack you as long as the spell was up, and you didn't attack them.
Yeah, I think that's how it works in Dragon Slayer.
So I mean, as the cleric, I mean, it can actually be a lifesaver. You know, if things start getting really bad, just be like, well, they can't attack me.
Oh, and I also leveled up after all that.
Well, you should have.
The troll, like a single troll, would give me nearly enough to level up that time.
Oh, we've got a Haas. A
Hey,
wild Haas has appeared.
What up, dude?
Hey.
Hey, did you see my thing where I'm the Pharaoh? Pretty good, huh?
I like your Yakuza one best.
Yeah, me and a bunch of tatted up Yakuza guys sitting in a freaking.
I like that one too.
That one's pretty good. But yeah, the thieves in my group, because you know how, or maybe you don't, but I'll tell you, in old school D&D, thieves always level quick.
Yeah.
So the people who were playing thief subtypes, they're like level 3 already, you know?
I know, it's pretty easy to level up as a thief.
And the cleric too. Because clerics level up almost as fast as thieves.
I don't think it does as fast, but yeah, maybe it's closer.
I said almost. Calm down there, buddy.
I know. I'm just thinking about
it. My wife, who is playing a berserker, yeah, it takes her like twice as much XP as it does the other guys to level up. But at the same time, she can also go into a berserk fury, attack 5 times every 2 rounds, get bonus hit points, eventually turn into a bear. So, yeah. The Viking Berserker in Hyperborea is all that in a bag of chips for real.
Well, I picked up my 3rd level spell and I went with Animate Statue.
I think Haas's Cleric finally gets a 2nd level spell, but in my game, if you want a spell, you have to learn the spell. So there's the mage in the party. I think he just hit level 3, just barely, right? So he can learn 2nd level spells, but until he finds somebody to teach him a 2nd level spell or so, which costs time and money, he doesn't get it. It's like, I know some people probably think that's kind of a dick move, but no, that's, that's why finding scrolls in dungeons is so important, because
you're not going to get the knowledge of a spell just like popping up into your head.
It's like, oh, something happened and now I just automatically know something. No, that's not how I do it. Now, other people can do it however they wish. That's the beautiful thing about the game. We can all play it the way we like. So anyway, what ended up happening is this Cryomancer, He was so desperate to learn new spells that he literally married like 100-year-old hag.
That's badass.
Yeah. Well, it actually broke her curse, and now she's like an attractive young hag.
I'd have made her an even older, more unattractive hag.
Yeah, but since he's an Atlantean, like they can't have children or anything, and she already let him know that she does not exist to be his personal little whatever, and also none of the people in the party are allowed to ask her for anything because she's only married to him, not to them. So she kind of put her foot down right off the bat, which had to happen because as soon as she transformed back to her original, non-cursed visage, everybody in the party's like, "Oh my god, man, we can get her to make us potions," and they're all going off, and she's like, "Nope, I married him." And it's not a marriage of love, it's a marriage of it broke a curse that was keeping her.
Like, you guys can kick sand.
Yeah. Oh, it gets even worse. She was originally or is a Hyperborean. So even though she's willing to be nice to her husband and his friends, deep down inside, she kind of views them like you would pond scum.
Oh, so the way I view them.
Well, I'll tell you what, you starting problems with the group. Because I don't know if you know this or not, but the mage heard you trying to convince the berserker that the two of you could clear the dungeon by yourselves and you didn't need them. Now, I don't think he's going to do anything about it because I don't think he can, but.
Well, if he does do something about it, start charging his ass for heal spells.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to talk shit to me? Okay. Oh, you're hurt? 5 gold pieces.
Well, it also helps that even though you're a cleric, because of your constitution and everything, that you have just about as many hit points as like you have the second most hit points in the group.
I got very low hit points.
And the best armor class.
So
I got the best armor class.
Can I steal the Atlantean's wife?
No, because it was a curse. They wanted everybody voted for the cleric to marry her, and the cleric was not like, "Fuck that! I'm not marrying some scummy common human, whatever." Basically, Haas was being super racist about it because when she was a hag, I mean, you couldn't tell what type of human she was. And because of her desperation to stop being cursed, she was willing to literally marry
anyone.
And anyone, really. She would have married anyone in the
Well, why
group.
didn't she say that she was a Hyperborean?
Part of the curse.
Part of the curse. She couldn't tell you.
Well,
She couldn't tell. She couldn't even say it. She couldn't even say she was cursed. That's how bad the curse was. All she could do is pull out a ring and tell whoever that if someone promises to marry me and makes oaths over this ring, then I will help you however I can.
Well, you can't blame me, because I'm not going to mess around with a lesser person.
Of course not. But then when she changed her shape, she turned into like a 7 foot tall, blood red haired Hyperborean with violet eyes and bone white skin. And
Hungar, you missed out.
Yeah.
No, I'm better
so
looking
she
than
towers
she
over
is.
the Atlantean. The Atlantean's like 5'8". This fucking woman towers over him like crazy,
I feel sad for her when she becomes a widow.
I wonder if he becomes a widow, she becomes the hag she was cursed to be again, or if she just is freed.
If she does, then I will marry her after that, now that I know what she is.
She actually said that she would prefer to be married to a Hyperborean, but unfortunately, your racist ass was like, F that. because she looked like just a little brown chestnut of a thing with no teeth.
Well, all women would rather be married to Hyperboreans. I mean, could you blame them?
Not really. I mean, look at the real world where they always put must be at least 6 feet tall.
Exactly.
At least 6 feet
Well, how about a race of golden-haired humans that are all around 7 feet tall? I mean,
None against the short kings out there.
nothing against all you short kings out there. We respect you guys, but
I know.
it is what it is. However, the negative is most non-Hyperboreans really despise Hyperboreans too.
Yeah. I was messing with my neighbor today. He went to get him and his son a haircut. He's like, you ever flex out a bald MFer by getting a haircut?
Right.
Yeah.
You used to always do that to me too, though.
Right.
Like I'd be eating a salad. I'd be sitting down here eating a salad, and Haas would be like, "You ever flex on a no gut having nigga by eating a salad in front of him, knowing he can't have vegetables?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I do, man."
Yeah, you do. You do that.
Yeah, but they're all like literally some of the people in the group. It was so funny because they were trying to convince. Hungar's character's name is Dar Van Zul Ghoul, Ghull. He's got like this big weird Hyperborean name, and they're like, "Come on, Dar, come on, Marion." And Hungar's like, "No, I'm not marrying
It makes
some
me think.
freaking primate." He called her primate.
Oh god.
He's
They're
like,
all
"You lesser
primates."
beings.
Hungar's character's name reminds me of the elf's name in our game, where he's like, it's Ernelius. And it's like, everybody's like, yeah, who cares there, Ernie?
All right, to break this, to interrupt it for a second. So this chick on Instagram put, if I get so many followers, I will eat whatever the top like says. So for me to be a smartass, I put me,
You
and I
should,
got
but
the top likes.
you're super nice because I would have put my ass.
Yeah, well, she could just assume that's what I was saying.
But I wouldn't do that. If she was like, if I can get X amount of followers, I'll eat whatever you tell me to eat. I would have put, how about a wedding cake after your Orthodox marriage to a good Orthodox man?
Well, I just wanted to be a smartass, and I ended up getting them
Like
a
I told
slide.
you how I had all those waifus in that game convert to Orthodox.
What's the name of
to
that
become
game?
good women. I'd have to look it up. It's on Steam.
Yeah,
on
I figure it's
Steam, there's that one page that links off of Five Hearts, One Roof, and it's like all the waifu games. So I got one. It was fucking free. And I decided, instead of going in here and being a pervert, I'm going to literally play this game and see if I can't actually redeem and save these girls from themselves. And it worked.
You
Like I
converted
told
them
you,
all to Orthodox.
the older lady that wanted to cheat on her husband, her and her husband are doing great by the end of the game because I convinced her not to cheat and how she's better than that. And, and then there was one of them that was being a whore, and she was a Muslim girl. And I snatched her a job off of her freaking head and threw it on the ground in front of her and said, "You're being a whore. You don't deserve to wear this hijab." She started crying and shit. And now she's being a good girl too because, I told her. And even though she still wears a hijab because her family would get upset with her, she refers to me as James, her brother in Christ.
Nice. I'm having dinner with my neighbor tonight in a few minutes.
You're gonna have dinner with the neighbor.
Yeah, he's Jeremy, dude. He's making Jaeger schnitzel.
Yeah, I gotta go. I got dinner to eat now.
Damn it. I'll catch you later,
Oh.
Timmy. Thanks for dropping in.
Later, Timmy.
Well, that's nice. You know who I saw on your friends list that surprised me?
Ew.
Hans.
Yeah.
Is that the Hans that hung out when we lived in the ghetto and you and he drove taxi together for a while?
No, that was Max.
Maximilian. Okay. My bad,
Maximilian Adolf Klopfner.
Maximilian Adolf Klopfner. Yeah, I remember he tried to sell me an AK for $350, and I was dumb and didn't do it.
Yep.
But okay, I saw a guy named Hans as one of the people that you're friends with, and I was just like, I got confused. I thought maybe it was Max then, apparently.
Yeah, and my neighbor's name is Klaus.
Klaus. Yeah, I saw that because he even has how you pronounce it.
Yep.
He wrote pronounced and he did it phonetically, Klaus, whatever. And I'm just like, cool.
Yeah, we hang out, drink coffee in the morning before he goes to work. And on his days off, we hang out. When he has a son, we hang out. His son says I'm his best friend. He's like 6 years old, 5 years old. And
Well,
then,
that's nice, though, that you got a friend to hang out with.
yeah, and then in the evenings, we hang out and watch shows together. Like we just finished Ted Lasso.
Yeah, and you said you guys finally watched
Oh, I watched that freaking
True Detective.
yeah, just
one.
the first season.
Yeah, that's the only season you need to watch. Unfortunately, it's like 2 and 3 aren't bad. 4 is actually better than 2 and 3, I think.
Yeah, but none could beat
none
season
of them
one.
get anywhere near to season 1. Season 1 is just truly like. How could any of them get anywhere near?
I don't think there's a lot of TV shows, period, that get close to True Detective.
Oh no, that's
season one.
That's the best series ever made for sure. But do you hear that? My wife deaf as shit. But think about it though. I mean, how do you top Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey in the same show?
Or Woody Harrelson's girlfriend. Not his wife, but his girlfriend.
That ain't his real girlfriend, is it?
No, but in the show it's his girlfriend.
That is a smoking hot little lady too.
Oh, her eyes.
I wasn't looking at her eyes.
Yeah, no shit.
But you know what's crazy though? If you ever watch again, pay attention, you'll notice that Woody Harrelson's wife is smoking hot.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would you cheat on a smoking hot wife, even with a smoking hot girlfriend? That makes no sense.
He wants the best of both worlds.
Yeah, that was his problem. He did explain it, didn't he?
Yeah.
When he gets all stressed out, he likes to go out and get some strange, but I'm just not built that way.
Me neither.
I'm all like, man, and I forget the name of the woman. If Bear were here, he would tell us, but Bear's pissed off right now at the world.
He's doing a show on his own right now.
Well, I don't blame him because he got really mad yesterday and like rage quit. And I don't blame him for doing it either. I really don't.
He got mad at you?
I think I was aggravating him a little bit, but then Modifius came in and started talking shit, and I'm sitting over here like, okay, Mobius has been like one of the Chads that shows up on my shows for like years.
Yeah.
Bear's my bro. I like Bear. We hang out. I wonder if maybe I should have blocked Mobius. But then I've only ever blocked one guy in my life, and that guy was like some douchebag from Twitch or something,
Yeah.
Put me in a fucked up spot. And I'm sitting here being like, everybody get along, right? Bear actually made the attempt. He really did. He's like, how about I won't talk about you, you don't talk about me, we let go, blah, blah, blah. And Mobius, it didn't seem like Mobius was willing to, is like, and it's so surprising. It's like fucking, yeah, I have nothing else really to say. I mean, I'm not ever going to say anything bad about Bear. I get it. Now, I think though one thing Bear was getting mad about, and this is something that's not negotiable with me, is I was calling. You were here. I was calling all the Inuits and shit just Eskimos.
Yeah.
And he was correcting me and being like, that's considered an insult to them. Well, I'm never going to be tone policed, and I'm never going to have my words policed. I don't care by who. If I want to refer to all of those raw still eating bastards in the Arctic who I actually love and respect deeply as Eskimo, I'll do it.
You know what? When I
And in
lived in
the
Alaska,
Hyperborean world, that is what they're called, Eskimo.
when I lived in Alaska, you know what they refer to themselves as, and what everybody called them?
What?
Eskimos.
Right. So, I understand. I think that's just part of Bear's education in the Great White North. Like, they're weird up there about the First Nations and all that shit. And then it's like, yeah, but archaeologically, they aren't the First Nations.
Yeah. It's like calling, like my buddy Chris Calderon.
Yeah.
He's Latino. I know for a fact that if I called him a Latinx, he would get pissed.
Yeah, no, but what I mean is even the idea of calling as we call them, Native Americans, First Nations, or even Native Americans is bullshit. They migrated here. And according to their own myths, they wiped out the people who lived here before they showed up.
Yeah.
So there were some possibly indigenous Americans, but the Asians that came across wiped them out.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You're not First Nations. You're freaking Asians. You migrated across. You wiped out the redhead giants. You wiped out the moon-eyed people. God only knows who else. I'm basing all this on your own legends and myths. So the idea that, but see, in Canada, they have been indoctrinated that, you can't say this, you can't say that. So, people will, plus they just want to be polite, right?
Yeah.
But no. And I mean, I'm never going to stop calling somebody Eskimos or Indians because somebody feels a way about it. And I don't even care if the person who feels a way about it is an actual, Lakota Sioux, and I don't like being called an Indian. I'm going to be like, well, that's too bad, ain't it?
When I lived in North Dakota and I was out hanging out with all the res people, guess what? I called them Indians.
I mean, it's just, and the land acknowledgement shit, get the fuck out of here. I'll tell you what, I'll start giving a shit about the land acknowledgement shit every time the Muslims, Turks or otherwise, acknowledge that all the land they're standing on used to belong to Christians. Every time the Turks that are in Istanbul, acknowledge how they stole the land in Constantinople from Eastern Rome, then I'll give a shit. But as long as this shit only goes one way, they can fuck themselves.
Conquered, not stolen, bitches.
Yeah, they always you stole this land. It's not stealing if we show up in the middle of the day and whip your ass.
And if they want to look at it that way, then they have to look at it like they stole the land from everybody else that they conquered, all the other Indian tribes.
Well, we know for a fact that Lakota Sioux were forced into the Black Hills region after the British traded the Chippewa Indians a bunch of muskets and taught them how to use them, because Lakota Sioux and the Chippewa were warring for fucking decades. And when the Chippewa got their hands on actual modern weaponry and shit, started fucking them up. So the Lakota Sioux fled south from the forests around the Great Lakes to the Black Hills region, where there was already another tribe living. And the Lakota Sioux genocided that tribe right out of fucking existence. So whenever you see these Lakota flipping off the monuments on the Black Hills and talk about you stole this shit, it's like literally 200 years ago, you genocided an entire other people on this land. Get fucked. But yeah, Manowar, I agree. That land acknowledgement bullshit, that is fucking weak. But you know what a lot of that is? And this has nothing to do with Bear, Canada, or anything. Too many modern people have been programmed to be ashamed of the accomplishments of their ancestors, right? It's like, okay, so the Vikings created the Danelaw and basically terrified all of Europe for 100 years. Should people today of Viking descent be ashamed of that? No, fuck that. But you guys, I'm just singing the same old song. It's like I say, if I were a Mongolian, do you think I would be ashamed of the fact that, the Golden Horde just swept half the world? Nope. I'd be proud of it. I'd be like, fuck yeah. If I were Bruce Lombardo, who may or may not be descendant of Romans and more likely is actually descendant of the Germans that destroyed Rome. But if I were a descendant of the Romans, would I be ashamed of the accomplishments of the Roman Empire? No.
Well, here's something funny. There was a show where they had ancestors of Genghis Khan on.
Oh, yeah, they probably had a lot of them.
And it was two dudes, right? And they just started throwing dukes about who was closer related to him.
I've only in my entire life ever met one person from that region, and he was a cool dude. Just like in my life, I've only personally met like 2 Nigerians, and they were both really cool. Or was it Kenyan, Haas? Kenyan, yeah. And the one guy is in the army with Oyanasi. I believe he was a Kenyan too.
Eric Booga.
Yep. And they were great people. So, and it's kind of like, okay, if we should feel, again, I'm going to bring this up, if we should feel away because we conquered this continent, then why aren't we making everyone else who conquered shit feel away? Right? Like the Zulus. Maybe we should start fucking with the Zulus over the fact that they conquered all the land they're on now because they didn't originate there. And we can fuck with the Mongolians. We can fuck with the Persians. We can be pissy with the Turks, the Russians, who started out as a collection of freaking half-breed Swedes and Slavs and now rule the largest country on the planet. It's like, I mean, who do we not complain about? It's so weird, man. It's weird. It's just strange, but it is what it is. It's just for some reason, our educators have decided that a certain particular group, which is basically us, have to feel sorry for the accomplishments our ancestors achieved, like sailing across the ocean in a 30-foot long wooden rickety boat and then, conquering the new world.
I'm not going to feel sorry for what my ancestors did.
Well, some of the stuff our ancestors did, maybe we should think about, though.
Yeah, we should think about, but maybe not do it
you
ourselves.
And I are predominantly German, so maybe there are some things we should be like.
Maybe not do it ourselves, but
we should still feel proud of the fact that, like, our German ancestors in World War II almost defeated half the freaking world.
And they had the best uniforms.
So while maybe we don't agree with murdering civilians, the other shit is pretty badass, though.
Maybe some of us don't agree with murdering civilians. No, I'm joking.
I know you are. That's why I gave you the.
So, yeah. Exactly what percentage maybe German are we?
Of a land acknowledgement might smooth things. Yeah. I read that already. I thought the chat had went more, but it's not going to, because those kind of people, once they get that victim mentality in their head, to quote The Cure, it's never enough.
What part of Germany or German are we?
German.
Yeah, what percentage?
If you are anywhere as near as I am, and since we share parents, you probably are, around 40-something%.
Nice.
So, like, literally every other thing in us is like 8%, 4%, whatever. And then you've got German. Boom, you know. And we get that from our lovely mother's side.
You you'd never think of that with her maiden name.
But okay, her maiden name is a Welsh name, right? Vaughn. But you know what other culture has Vaughn as a name?
German.
Yeah, but they just spelled it different.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Do you know we have a uncle like 3 times removed whose name was Constantine?
Really?
Yeah. And I dated the our grandfather on our mother's side. I managed to follow his family back to 1540 in Germany, like Bavaria. Now, on our grandmother's side, as far as I could go back, was Dublin. But I'm only 4% Irish.
Yeah.
So whatever Irish we had in us just slowly got bred out by, like, my next highest thing is East Slav. And then after that is Norwegian, Danish, and then Swedish. And then Scots Irish and Irish. I told my wife when I was getting thing, I was like, just so you know, if this thing comes back with me being like 20% African, I don't want you to be too surprised. I'm going to warn you right now. What's up, my love? I got to go give my wife a hug. She wants a hug.
All right, I'm going to go have dinner with Klaus.
No, you got to stay there until I get back. It'll only be a little bit.
Is it Hossie?
That's Hoss.
Hi, Hossie.
Hi, Monster. Love you.
I love you.
I love you too.
My little, you know, Norwegian elf.
It's just been a long day.
Well, relax.
I don't know.
We've got delicious food in the fridge.
Yeah, these 9-hour days are gonna kill me.
Yeah. That's how they screw you. They put you on salary and then work you to death. So, yeah, I don't guess it's really super secret, but recently some people she really, really liked got laid off and she's just not been happy about it.
Yeah.
And, which I was like, well, you know, you could be next. And she's like, true. And I was like, and if it does happen, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I'll take all the books I don't care about and I'll take them right down to the used bookstore and be like, what are you going to pay me for this?
Hell yeah.
I'll load everything up. I'll be up in the mountains before you even know it. Because if that were to happen, she would get like 40. Anyway, she'd get like over a year of severance and everything pay. So we could pack shit up, move back up there near mom, and have a year for her to figure out what she wants to do, you know? And of course, I still get my retirement from the fire department. So,
yep.
I mean, you know, I don't make near as much as she does, but I make enough.
You guys would be all right.
We would be all right. And then you could drive up and visit on the weekends if you wanted. Or the weekdays, because it's not like I'd be out doing anything really. Maybe, you know, if I lived up there, I might grab a rod and reel and go down to the Cumberland and throw her in just for the F of it, you know?
Yeah.
I'd be walking up and down that mountain every day, though. I know that. Until I eventually had a heart attack and they found me like a week later laying on the side of the mountain.
I think we'd find you before then.
Yeah, I think once I don't come home for dinner, people would be like, where's the last time you saw him? I'd be up there with a smile on my face, just freaking face down into the leaves.
You're such a dork.
Oh, I found a rifle I'm saving up to buy, dude.
Really?
Yeah, it's by Palmetto State Armory or whatever. It is basically the Temu American-made version of the Scar S1,
Nice.
and it costs literally like a third. It's like
Nice.
$1,500. It's in every way, it's a Scar, and it's chambered in 308.
Nice.
So-
And yeah, not your echo. She is the sweetest of ladies.
Yeah, she I mean, I don't want to get too deep because my wife's a very private person, which is why you never see her. You might hear her, but she's very private. Like she don't even really have social media at all. She has been their boss for like a decade plus, at least. And then she gets the message a couple days back that they're both getting laid. And she can't say anything because if she says anything, then she could be fired with cause, which means she would not get her severance and all that, right? So it tore her up, man. And I've been sitting over here just being like, trying to, be extra nice and shit because, she is a very sweet lady. Or as you would probably call her, Andre, she is a very sweet babushka because she is a grandma, because my daughters made sure of that. And plus, like, we went out to dinner and stuff with these people I'm talking about. Like, we were kind of friends, like, outside of work, And now, good news is both of these people got, like, an amazing severance package. Like, they're going to be paid for, like, the next year, right? And insurance and all that. So if I heard it right. So it's not like it's like you're laid off and you're out on the street homeless. No, they're going to get the pay. They're going to be fine. But it's just kind of the reason it sucks is because in a way, because my wife she doesn't go out anywhere. She don't have a lot of girlfriends. She's just basically me and her hanging out around the house for the last 20 years plus, right? And these people were definitely like a friend group to her. It was two women. And every morning they got together for their little powwow that, the manager and the people that she worked, managed. And they would talk about everything. And then they'd go to work and do their thing, right? And they got, and it was like out of the blue. No one said anything. It was like, everything's great. Everything's great. One day, boom, So that's why I said she could be next. But if it happens, her severance will be amazing. And I will sell 90% of this shit you see around me will be gone. I mean, I'm going to keep my Hyperborea books and stuff like that for sure. And then right up to Eastern Kentucky with my ass. You know what I'm saying?
And then the monster and mama be hanging out all the time.
Yeah. Because her and mom are like besties. They'll be hanging out, going to Bell's Outlet, running around, doing whatever the hell they do. See, the turnaround, Mobius, shit is going great for me. And maybe that kind of might be kind of the reason there's the feels that there are, because maybe it's like survivor's guilt, like when things happen to somebody that and you care for that are really bad, but they don't happen to you. So you feel guilty, like, why did this guy die, not me, And
I'm going to go eat, brother. I love you.
I love you.
I will see you later.
I love you. Always have.
Always will.
All right, homie. And the reality is, at least my hope and what I pray for when I do my morning prayers, is that wherever they land, they end up even better, But that's all. I mean, to me, that's what keeps me a lot of times like the way I am, is because a lot of times I just, the things that would make me really sad and whatever, I just put that stuff on God, you know what I mean? And I'm not trying to preach at you guys so much. I'm just telling you that's what I do. If something sucks and I'm like, man, that sucks. Well, I pray about it. And I tell God, I'm like, help me get through this, right? And I'll tell you what, even if you don't believe in God, for some reason it helps though, right? Because I can't swear God exists. I know I think he does, but I can't swear he does. I could be totally full of shit here. I could be following some Bronze Age mystical bullshit and worshiping some random guy who was born in Israel 2,000 years ago. I accept that. I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but I could be. And anyway, the point though is having that mentality where you can kind of think about something maybe bigger than you. And I mean, it helps me. I guess that's all I can really say. It helps me. It helps me, I can like get a different kind of view on things, and kind of not beat myself up about everything. And so there it is, so even if a person were 100%, well, agnostics, they're made in shade. They're okay. They can do this. But even if you are the kind of person that's like 100% anti-theist, atheist guy, I think a little bit of prayer would probably help you. Even if you're praying to the spaghetti monster. I mean, just the ability to work through everything going on in your mind and have a maybe imaginary friend to kind of put a lot of that weight on. Yeah, I think that helps. Yeah. Thank you very much, Andre. I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. But yeah. So yeah, I'm a huge fan. But I guess if that's the same thing as meditation in a way. I mean, I'm talking purely on the scientific scale, not my religious beliefs, which are 100% boom, Rocor right down the line. I already do that. It's got insomnia. I used to have the worst insomnia too, brother. And now I take this little pill. I forget what it's called. This little blue pill every night they make me take. And not only does it make me fall asleep, but it makes it where I can't dream either. So that takes care of my insomnia. And anyway, though, crafting gamer, where are you crafting these days? I always see the crafting gamer around. I hope that he's crafting something cool. I am painting random figures that are in front of me because I have like 100 figures in front of me. You guys can't see. And so pretty much I'll just pick a figure at random, figure out what it needs taken care of, and then I'll hit it up. And when they're done, I put them in the case and get them off my desk. And I've actually been doing really good. Like this guy here, I just did this guy. And as soon as I know he's dry enough, I'm going to hit him with gloss because I feel like, a walking, running orca should be like glossy colored. So, and after that, I may put some snow effect on the base because these guys only live around the Arctic anyway. I appreciate that, Andre. So yeah, this guy's pretty much knocked out. I got his teeth and his mouth done and everything, I just touched up this guy's cross. And the reason is Baron's War, when you make your Baron or the Lord of your army, right? For a couple of points, you can add priests. And the priests, this guy, of course, being probably a Roman Catholic since it's 11th century, the priests actually help your warband out. They help with morale and stuff like that. So this is a gripping beast priest that I will assign to my Norman Baron, and then I will benefit from the awesomeness of I did not Mobius. I logged on and looked at the memes, especially my favorite being the Yakuza meme. Me sitting in the thing with the Yakuza guys, and I've got like the second edition Hyperborea cover tatted on my chest. I'll tell you what, Cold Iron, sometimes he really does outdo himself. I can't play Trench Crusade, and you mentioned a reason. When they very first announced that game, I was like a huge supporter. And it's like the more they talk, the less I like the game. And so they basically talked me out of playing their game, despite the fact that I have 5 armies for that game. You know, I've got some trader armies. I've got some straight up demonic armies. And I've got multiple good guy armies. As a matter of fact, I used my 3D printer and my crafting skills to actually make a Russian Trench Crusade army. So, like, my Trench Priest is an Orthodox Schema monk, except he's got, like, you know, a PPSH or something in his hand, and he's wearing all the black with the white schema all over. And I wish I had them available. And then I've got a bunch of basically Byzantine almost looking soldiers, or Russian. They're wearing like laminar plate armor and everything, but they're carrying rifles and trench. I mean, I went all out on that army. And the other army I went all out on was the American army. And I used like World War II Americans plus some sci-fi American parts. And I built this whole army where you got guys running around with like Tommy guns, a BAR, you know, like Springfield 308s. And they all have like, on one pauldron, they have the American star. And on the other pauldron, they have ranks. So I have like my sergeants and my privates and everything like that. And then they announced that America's not in the game. And I'm like, fuck your faces then. And then they announced that somehow hell rules all of the oceans. And I'm like, yeah, fuck your faces twice on that. Because at the beginning of this war, they only owned Jerusalem. So how in the fuck are they building a fleet big enough to defeat the whole rest of the world? Especially when you consider that apparently the good guys got jet fighters stationed in airstrips along the coast and shit. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but World War I style dreadnought gets wrecked by jet fighter with fucking, you know, torpedoes. So yeah, it's basically the more that the creators and a lot of the people on their Discord talk, the more I hate that effing game. You know, like the idea, like you got these assholes on there saying, I want to play the new Antioch faction, but I want my army to be atheist. And it's the same thing with D&D. How can you be atheist if you're in a trench fighting literal demons that have climbed out of the pit of hell? I mean, how can you be atheist, right? How can you be atheist when you see the other warband over there and the priest leading it is literally performing miracles from God? How's this fucking work? And then the one guy, I want to play a gay army. And I'm like, you can. It's called the Forces of Hell. You know, just paint your fucking renegades up to be a bunch of homosexuals. You're fine. You don't even got to paint them up a different way. You can just paint up a bunch of heretics and say they're all gay. And they serve whichever demon that they've got. That's the demon of like depravity and whatever, you know, good to go. And then they're like, oh, we need a Jewish faction. Well, that would be also covered under the Forces of Hell. They got mad about that, but I was like, look, guys, you're using Christian, thoughts, right? Well, people who don't accept Christ are screwed. That's I'm sorry if you disagree, but that's just the way it is, right? So if you build a Jewish army, whether they're doing their own thing or not, guess what? Ultimately, they're part of the hell side, not the Christ side. But yeah, they talked me out of supporting that game pretty quick. Yeah, the Hyperborean memes are definitely getting a lot sweeter. He's taking a break on Shadow because I don't know. You should never try to guess what somebody's motivation is. But a part of me feels like maybe Shadow's getting a little bit sick and tired of being, mocked for being gay because, some people that would piss off really bad. Like I know I'm not gay, so I honestly, if somebody called me gay, I'd be like, "No, you gay." But other people may not care for it, and if we have inadvertently like push the basement full of lady boys too far. One, I wish Shadow would just have said that, if that is true. Not saying it is, but if it is. And two, then we need to stop because, while it's fun to F with your friends, and mess with them and, crack jokes, you don't want to do it to the point that you're actually, causing the guy, to like have feelings about it, And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, guys, we just F with each other nonstop and blah, blah." Yeah, but there does come a point where you're going too far and it's just bullying, right? So if us talking shit, and I know I'm guilty of this more or as much at least as everyone else. If us talking shit about Shadow's Ladyboy collection is actually causing him to have negative feelings, then obviously we need to stop. Otherwise, yeah, I'm just bullying Shadow. And I don't want to do that because, Shadow's my homie. And I'll just find some other thing to F with him about. And, no bigs. And he can always F with me about shit too. But, that's just me thinking out loud. I could totally be wrong because, Shadow's a big boy. He can handle it. But like, I'm just saying, it's like, I mean, Mobius, you're even in the chat and it's like, I had to do a lot of thinking last night about the blow up yesterday. And it's like, okay, I don't want to take sides. I wish, because I'm thinking, should I have blocked Mobius so that Bear would be okay? But then I'm like, but Mobius has been a loyal bro for so many years too. Puts me in a weird spot. So what I really wish is if you guys just can't get along, if you just block each other so you couldn't even see each other. That's what I wish. That's what I wish you guys could have done. Just block the fuck out of each other and move on. And you know what? I understand sometimes people rub each other the wrong way, and it's just the way it is. And there's no help for it. But when I was thinking about should I have done the blocking, I'm like, I've only blocked like one guy ever, and it was some dude from Twitch that come into the channel and start talking shit. I mean, I generally don't block anybody. But yeah, it's obvious to my mind that you two are not going to agree on shit. So at that point, you might as well just make it where you can't even see each other. If I had my way, which I generally don't. So, which is honestly probably good for the whole world that I don't have my way, because even though I mentioned jokingly that if you all would support me as the new king of North America, who knows what we could achieve. At the same time, if I had that kind of power, I might do bad stuff. You know, I don't know. I definitely need a council of dudes whose whole job was just to kind of hang out and be like, hey, bro, yeah, we can't be doing all that. I thought you had an Accord too, but it seems that that's just not going to be a thing. And I'm just, so like I said, you're a grown man. I assume you're a grown man. I know Bear's a grown man. So yeah, you guys are going to do what you want to do. That's just how it is. You're going to do what you want to do. And but you know, sometimes if you just can't get along with people, just move on. You know, as the stormtroopers say, move along, move along. You stopped. I mean, you know, for reasons that Bear knows and I don't. But again, you know, if he tells me he feels away, I'm going to be like, damn, man, yeah, that sucks. Because, you know, Bear's always been a good guy to me. He felt like you hadn't. And I just don't know. But I mean, we don't need to rehash this shit over and over again. And honestly, Mobius, I think I was pissing Bear off before you even showed up. Because, you know, he is right. Sometimes I say shit. He don't like it. That's a fact. But I already rehashed that earlier with the whole him telling me I shouldn't call Eskimos. And I honestly, I get it, because like in your country, you guys are still doing like the land bullshit and trying to be super freaking PC about your Indians. But like Haas said, we've been in Alaska. They called themselves Eskimos. Even though if you really get close to them, they'll let you know what their tribe actually is. But and Eskimo meaning eater of raw flesh. That is not a fucking insult, because I am telling you, they eat raw flesh. I've seen it with my own eyeballs. Like some of those dudes will sit down, the whole family on the living room floor, lay out paper to protect their floor, and then proceed to consume a sill from the tail to the fucking eyeballs, raw. So, I mean, if it's something they actually do quite often, that would be that, like, considering that an insult. It's kind of like, right, Mobius, that's true. The dude abides. You know, I'm such a nerd. You said when I offered terms, and I immediately went to that scene from Kingdom of Heaven, you know, King Baldwin and Saladin and the whole, do we have terms? We have terms. That's my favorite scene in the whole movie. When the army of Damascus shows up, but then the army of Jerusalem shows up. Poor Baldwin. In reality, they had to carry him on like a litter because of how sick he was. But then when he got to the battlefield, they transported him to his horse. And by that time, he was completely wrapped in cotton bandages because he was just so infected. His body was so septic, it was literally just leaking blood and pus everywhere. And then he rode out and did his thing. And yeah, what a tough bastard, you know? I mean, to be trapped in a rotting body and still be one of the most feared Christian kings amongst the Muslims, like until he died. I mean, I don't know if I said this before, but I will bring it up again. Saladin is quoted as having said that Jerusalem would never fall as long as it was ruled by King Baldo. I agree with you, Andre. But it's like when I went off on that rant the other day, which I don't think I recorded it. I think I'd ended the stream and then I went off on the rant and then I showed off my rifle. I was making a point to my Australian bro about something, right? And basically my rant to all the other countries that are derived from the English Empire is what the fuck happened to you guys? It's like, and I'm not trying to stomp down on you, but how do you not have freedom of speech or a Second Amendment? I mean, how is it that America is the only former colony portion of the great British Empire that actually has fucking rights, and the rest of you, including England, don't? How did that happen, man? And haven't any of you guys, whether you're Canadian or freaking wherever you're from, Scots, North Irish, whatever, how have none of you guys ever stood up and been like, we need that Bill of Rights that the U.S. has? Fuck, man. I don't think America would be mad if you guys wanted to copy our homework. Now, it's weird because, like I said, I was talking about the Barons' War, and the whole point of the Barons' War was to make King John sign the Magna Carta and stop being a prick. And I'm starting to think that maybe my British homies need to have another one of these, make your ruling class sign some paperwork and promise not to be a prick. We have free, yeah, but here's the problem, Mobius, and that's what like far left knuckleheads in America say. You have freedom of speech, but not consequences. Therefore, we'll get you fired, right? If you can't say what you want to say without consequence, then guess what? You don't have freedom of speech. In America, there are people who try to control the freedom of speech, almost all leftists. But if I wanted to go on the corner down here, put a freaking tinfoil hat on my head and start shouting crazy shit, I can do it. And I don't have to worry about going to prison. But in England, they put over 3,000 people in prison per year over Facebook memes. And even Canada is getting crazy with that kind of shit. It's like I said, Australia, they're horrible. The way they treated their people during the COVID thing, like locking people up and shit. Fuck out of here, It's like our people. And when I say our people, Mobius, my people and your people, since mine came to the New World in 1600 something, we conquered savage redskins, terrain that wanted us dead. Well, at least my people, because they were in Appalachia. Every other kind of thing. Just to what? Be slaves? Not saying that America, we're getting there too, but we're still doing a little bit better than the rest of our brothers from the British Empire, for sure. Oh no, those consequences I'm good with. If somebody wants to get in somebody's face and get away, yeah. I mean, I wish America had the consensual combat. We don't, but we kind of do, because if you get in a fight with somebody, as long as they drop charges and you drop charges, you're not getting prosecuted. So you can fight people down here. And not worry about going to jail too much. Yeah, you need to get rid of this government, and you need to borrow. I'm telling you, every country in the world should borrow our Bill of Rights and just entomb it into their government and say, this group of rights you cannot fuck with. And then you Canadians can buy ARs if you want, which in my opinion, you freaking need, depending on where you live. I mean, actually, I wouldn't go with an AR, though. I'd go with something in 308 if I was a Canadian. Yeah, for sure. Because I know when I lived in the frozen north, I mean, 233 is a nice round, but you really want that 7.62. I mean, Just like 9mm. I love my 9mm, but man, oh man, I probably want a 357 if I'm fishing on the Eagle River or something. You know, I want something that'll go in a grizz and come out the backside of his ass. Lay his ass right down. You know what I'm saying? I don't want something that's just going to piss him off before he gets to me. And Canadians, I mean, if you lived in like Saskatchewan, you 100% should be able to own some kind of large caliber semi-automatic rifle. I mean, polar bears wander around that fucking place. So, yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm not even bitching at you guys, like all of my Commonwealth brethren. I'm not even bitching at you. I'm kind of just like asking you, and the Irish too. Guys, how did we get here? How did this happen? Like, we need to definitely figure it out, you know? Yeah. Well, see, the problem, or not the problem, is the YouTube platform is a private platform. So they have rules, and because it's private, you have to abide by the rules. That's just what it is. It's just like my house. My house is a private property. If you come into my house and I tell you, hey, you can't do this, this, or this while you're here, you either accept that or leave. But public, that's a totally different thing. And you'll notice I said if I want to stand on the sidewalk and yell shit, yes. Because if you stand in the middle of the street, guess what? You're breaking the rules and you're not covered by the First Amendment. And in the state of Florida, if somebody runs you over, it's your fault. That's actually a true thing. Look it up if you don't believe me. In the state of Florida, if you're protesting on a highway and somebody smacks you and keeps going, that is your fault. You shouldn't have been on the highway. So, plus our state troopers don't put up with that shit anyway. You watch Double D on Rumble now? Yeah, I've my streams go out on Rumble, and I watch Angry Tabletop Nerd on Rumble a lot. Rumble will let you say a lot more shit. Like, an example is how the King of the Frogs is not allowed on YouTube, but he is allowed on Rumble. And whether you like anything that he has to say or not, just that fact lets you know, like, what's up, right? Which I've noticed lately because, you know, Fuentes has been around for a decade plus. All of a sudden, that dude is getting a way more mainstream. Like, he's hanging out with Sneeko and he's hanging out with the Tate brothers and he's getting interviewed by Tucker Carlson and freaking Piers Morgan's had him on. It's like, I don't know. I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's an op. And like the Black Knight or evil cop of Hibernia, as I call him, who apparently has been really busy, but I really like him. He's a young kid, but I like him. And it's like so many people are just, it's like if somebody says anything, they're like, he's an op. And I'm like, damn, you young dudes are just black-pilled to shit. You think everyone's an op. And it's like, spit that black pill out. Maybe some of these guys are ops, but maybe some aren't. You know, maybe sometimes they are telling the truth. Maybe it's not a setup. You know, I mean, I'm not saying don't investigate and cover your ass and make sure you know what you know, but too many people, it's like every time something happens, they're like, that guy's an op. That guy's an op. That guy, like, Florida seems like an awesome place. Our laws are actually really good. And if this new guy gets in and gets rid of property tax, oh my God, it'd be hard to leave here, even though I still would. But that would be the ultimate. I hate property tax. The idea that you buy a house, spend 15, 20, 30 years paying the house off, and then have to pay taxes until you die or they'll take the house. That just proves you don't actually own anything, right? Once you pay that house off, that should be it. you know, or maybe have a thing where you pay property taxes until you're like 60 and then you no longer have to. Something, you know, so that you know when you're an old person and you've paid your house off and everything, you actually own your fucking house and property, right? But in America, they fucking oh man. See, I can barely speak thinking about property tax. But I'll be honest, I hate taxes. The only taxes I like are sales tax. I like sales tax, okay. I mean, I'd rather not pay it, but I'm like, okay. And I like the idea of the tariffs and stuff like that. And I love how these people in our modern day are like, oh my God, it can't work. Tariffs suck, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know, before a bunch of scumbags effed everything up and added like income tax and everything into this country, we existed on tariffs. Like from the time of our first president, George Washington, up until the Beast of Jekyll Island, we were literally, the whole country was just running on tariffs and shit like that. So it's like these people who argue against it, they don't understand history or they don't know about it. But it was basically a bunch of scumbags got together in Georgia and decided to implement the frickin' National Treasury, which is not national anything. It is not under our government. It's a private entity. And income tax and all this other bullshit they threw in there. And it was all promised to be temporary. But the problem is anytime the government passes a temporary measure, it becomes a permanent measure. So, yeah. Yes. So I got some short-faced bears I'm going to base real quick. Need to paint their eyes too. Maybe paint their nose. I got a couple of them. I figure, you know, two bears roaming around together would be a good encounter. And in Hyperborea, big brown bears and short-faced bears are a thing. A lot of the miniatures I've been painting recently are specifically because I'm playing Hyperborea, and I didn't have any miniatures for these things ever. And like the example being this orca that runs around, which is called an Akalute. Yeah, that's a Hyperborean thing. That's not a normal D&D thing. Yeah, and Andre, the thing I don't really understand is that it's not like every country I would expect to hold to this, like Singapore, and they're all doing their own shit, right? But the countries I'm talking about, they are literally like, if not our brothers, our first cousins. And it's just like, how did you guys, who are literally us, you know, most white Americans are derived predominantly from Western Europe and a lot of that, specifically the British Empire, the British Isles. I mean, and it's like, so how did we come up with this idea and all of you guys decide no? It's like, and while I'm not that guy that thinks Canada should be part of America, I 100% think the Canadians need a Bill of Rights so that they can tell their government, no, you went too far. You can't do that. STFU, right? Now, that's not saying America's perfect. We, you know, depending on the regime, you know, we do stupid shit too, but at least we have the idea of a Bill of Rights that we can point to and be like, don't make me sue your asses. And then have somebody take that serious, you know, like, oh shit, maybe I better calm the F down or get sued for trying to infringe somebody's rights. But, you know, that's just, like I said, when I talk about this, it would be like me talking about my brother doing something I don't understand, you know? Like if Haas did something I really didn't understand, I would be like, bro. I mean, so basically I'm talking to the other Commonwealth countries with love. I'm saying, I love you guys. We're relatives. What are you doing? This is crazy. And some people from those other countries who are willing to put aside, the emotion actually think about it, they agree. They're like, yeah, definitely we should do this. And I think you guys could. It would be really hard though. Like in Canada, if you guys could get the right people running and actually get support going and like somehow get enough control over the parliament and stuff that you could actually add to your own constitution and add these rights in there. Now, I know it would probably take a decade plus of hard freaking work, but I think it could be done. Yeah, everybody likes to talk shit about, Russia being like this horrible country. And granted, I mean, I'm not a Vladimir Putin, apologist. I understand he has probably had some people executed because, but on the other hand, they put less people in jail for memes and shit than England. So it's like, okay, you're in the West and you're still living that Cold War fucking delusion where you think Russia's just the most evil country that ever existed, even though you're doing all kinds of trade deals with China. But they actually appear to have more rights than you do. That is the weird thing. It's like Russian citizens appear to have more rights than you do. And you're claiming to be a free Western nation? Yep. Plus, one of the worst dictators on the planet, a Georgian that managed to take over Russia for a while, he said that America is a nation of builders and manufacturers. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, without whom we never could have won this war. Because the Russians paid in blood and we made sure they had good boots, food, jackets, and everything else they needed. In the long run, I think the Russians paid more because they paid in blood. But a lot of people like to say America joined the war late. And it's like, no, we didn't. We were supporting you guys materially for years before we stepped in. And I'm not even trying to be a jingoist American, we rule at everything. But, I mean, we were doing our best. We were helping. Like, for the longest time, most of the tanks the British Army had were made by America. We were supplying the Soviet Union with tanks. I mean, just like, of course, the Soviets did not like the tanks we gave them, which were the Lee Grant tanks. I think the Russian name for them translated as a coffin for 7 brothers. Because, yeah, they were not good tanks. But we were giving them away for free, man. And when you see the movies of the Russian troops in those big winter boots and those big winter coats charging around, those are American-made boots and coats. Yep. We, for a long time, were even making the rounds for the Mosin Nagant, the 7.62 by 5.4 round. America was even making ammo. I mean, and then after the war, we become arch enemies like immediately. And then after the fall of the Soviet Union, which I consider a victory for Christ, people in America just won't accept the fact that the Soviet Union is dead. It's gone. It's like, that's why I always argue Russia and the United States, we should be allies. With American, manufacturing and our ability to just make crazy shit, and Russia's vast material wealth as far as resources and shit, if America and Russia ever allied, that would just be like the most powerful elite alliance ever on the planet. And I hope one day that happens. It probably won't until we get rid of all the people in America that are in positions of power that hate Christians. But once we get rid of the anti-Christians here in America, it might happen. That would be a beautiful thing, I think. Can you imagine beautiful onion domed cathedrals rising up in the middle of Orlando? I would love it. You know, the Orthodox Church of America being right there in brotherhood with ROCOR and all the other. That to me is something to pray for every day. Because I feel like Western society, the reason Western society has been so effed up in the modern era is we rejected God. And if we don't have Christ as the center of our nation, then we're weak to other forces from the outside who do have a center, even if it's an evil center. You know, like your Muslims have their Allah, who is actually Baal, a demon. But it doesn't change the fact that they have a center and they can focus their will behind their center, you know, their core belief, right? But Europe has no core belief because we took Christ and threw him in the garbage. So when people are like, I can't understand why Europe's getting overrun by like this, that, and the other thing, it's like, it's not hard. It's not hard to understand when you throw away the core of who you are. Then who are you? Right? So until all of Europe becomes more like Russia and accepts Christ, Europe's always going to be weak to outside ideological invasion. It's just the way it's going to be. That's why Poland's so strong, because the Polish, even though they're Roman Catholics, boy, they are strong about that Roman Catholicism. You don't F around with their Christianity in Poland. And as a result, Poland ain't getting invaded by any damn body. You know what I mean? There's no waves of North African invaders invading Poland and trying to do like terrorist attacks and shit because they're smart enough to know, yeah, you don't do that. You do not let your enemies in through the front gate. Now, some of you are sitting here thinking, did he just say Allah? No, Allah is not the God of Abraham. Originally, he wasn't even called Allah. He was called Hasbel. And that big black cube, which is a representation of Saturn, but also even older gods, and that stone in there, which was the home of Hasbel. Yeah, that's Baal. If you've ever read the Old Testament where the great Saint Elijah is going at it with the priests of Baal, that's who we're talking about here. And somehow the Mohammedans have convinced Western society to believe we're worshiping the same God. Even though if, like myself, you read the Quran, there's no freaking way they're the same God. You know what I'm saying? No way at all. And the fact that they don't respect Mary, they say they love Isa, but they really don't. They say there's only one God, not a trinity, you know, 3 in 1, 1 in 3. I mean, yeah, there is nothing about their religion that is actually conforming with Christianity. Nothing. But idiot Christians, especially Protestants, want to think there is, you know. It's kind of like the other thing that aggravates me, and I can see 4 people left because they're like, oh, James is on his pedestal preaching. When I hear people say Judeo-Christian, I'm like, no, there is no Judeo-Christian. Modern day Judaism has F all to do with Christianity. It could not be more different. And when you get into the Talmudists, they're basically straight up witches. The shit they believe is absolutely evil. So this weird thing that's a relatively modern thing where we try to clump Judaism and Christianity together like it's one thing. Yeah, that's like a parasite clamping onto a freaking a healthy organism. Christianity being the healthy organism. That's what that is, you know. And if you think that the Jewish people were somehow set aside to be treated special and that everything Jesus said doesn't apply to them, you're an idiot. And yeah, that's just what it is. Sorry. As somebody who was raised Jewish and was Jewish for 30 years of my life, I'm telling you right now, if you think just because somebody claims to have a certain bloodline that they don't have to abide by what Jesus said, then you are an effing idiot. You're dumb. You're stupid. You're probably not a Christian. And if you think you are, well, guess what? You're not. Or at least let's just say you need to educate yourself. I shouldn't say who and who isn't, but you need to educate yourself because obviously you're on the wrong path. People are either Christian or they're not. And there is one thing that decides what that is, and that is acceptance of church doctrine. If you are a member of something and you reject the church doctrine, like the Holy Trinity and stuff like that, then you're not actually a Christian. You know? Now, I'm not saying I want to hate you or harm you or whatever. You go on. Be a Mormon, be a freaking, Christian Scientist, Seventh-day Adventist, whatever the hell you are. Live your best freaking dreams if that's what you want. I'll tell you you're wrong, and you can tell me to go pound sand, and I'll be like, okay. And I'll be like, okay, But yeah, if you do not accept these basic tenets that have been true and preached for 2,000 years, then yeah, you don't get to claim to be a Christian. You know what I mean? If you can look at your church and you can go back and point to the exact time and the man who founded your church, guess what? You may not be a Christian. Well, I know this, Andre. I think you and I've talked about this once or twice. My pop's grandmother fled Russia during the revolution, and over the course of many years, eventually landed in Queens, New York, via Germany. They actually lived in Germany for a very long time as well. And if I remember correctly, there was another group of revolutionaries that actually won the vote after the Tsar was killed and everything. And I think they were like social democrats or something. But then Lenin ran in and like basically kicked them in the ass and took over by force. Because Lenin and Stalin's Bolsheviks had more guns, pretty much. Like remember the Mensheviks? Was it the Mensheviks? There were Mensheviks. I mean, it wasn't just straight up Marxists, revolutionaries. There were like numerous people that were in the revolution that were not Marxists even. But in the end, the Marxists put a boot to them. And a lot of them ended up going to camps and getting murdered. Oh my goodness. The neighbor's golden retriever just ran into my room, spun like 4 circles and ran out. But yeah, that's something a lot of people forget, Now my relatives were definitely Tsarists. Even though they were Jewish, they were still Tsarist. And I think it's because they were kulaks. Like my grandfather owned property, farms, etc. So yeah, when they saw the way the wind was blowing, they were smart enough to be like, yeah, we're up out of this shit. But my grandma was weird anyway. Like as a Jewish person, she would eat pork, but the idea of mixing meat and dairy, it would get you smacked upside the head. I don't know if that's just something that Russian Jewish people, decided one day. They're like, you know what? Pork's good. We're going to eat pork. But if you try to have a cheeseburger in this house, let me tell you, bucko, the Decemberists. Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe. That's what we're talking about. And it's like, and the funniest thing is the Russian Revolution never could have happened without American bankers. Because the Marxists, Lenin and crew, were financed by Jacob Schiff. to the tune of, in today's money, like $3 billion in gold. And then the Tsar betrayed his own cousin by sneaking Bronstein back into Russia with the money, because wars are expensive. And even with all of that, the loyalists were winning for the longest time. But unfortunately, after the Tsar and his family were murdered, most of the loyalists just surrendered, fled, whatever, because, you know, with the Tsar dead, what were they even fighting for anymore, you know? Like, they had no reason to fight. So the execution of the Tsar and his family, while completely cruel and evil, and I'm sure the atheists that committed it are burning in hell now, it did serve a purpose. And that was that the Marxists realized that as long as the Tsar was alive, then the loyalists would continue to fight, and they were going to win, you know. So, sucks, right? The 6 of you in the thing listening to freaking history lessons none of you asked for. I apologize for that. But I'll tell you something, and I know a lot of people will get mad. The Soviet uprising in Mother Russia was never Russian. It was not a Russian thing. It wasn't a Russian invention. It was not led by Russians. Now, some people will be like, and to which I'll say, well, just look it up. Look it up. You know, research it yourself. Maybe read Molotov's autobiography. See what he had to say about it. You know what I mean? Maybe read a little bit of Solzhenitsyn, read a little bit of Dostoevsky. You know, these great writers that were there at the time. Maybe read what they had to say about it, since they were there. You know? Hell, Solzhenitsyn spent the better part of a decade in a gulag. He's an interesting character because he was actually pro-Marxist in the beginning. And then after he got sent to the gulag, he changed his opinion on all that shit. Kerensky, I don't like any of that storyline with Kerensky PB. However, I will stop going off on history, which is one of my favorite things. And I will argue the point with you if you want. And if I need to put the link up for you, I will. But no, the whole Kerensky fled the inner sphere. I don't like that part of the story. I don't know if they did it to set up the Klan, or it was just something they set up. Yep. Imagine, if you will, okay, we're going to switch up some stuff, cooking some supper. Good for you, man. I got leftover sushi from yesterday. And which is cool, since you eat sushi cold, then re-eating it out of the fridge is not a big deal because you eat it cold. Right. To answer your BattleTech thing, imagine how much misery and death could have been avoided if Kerensky hadn't been a bitch and had actually stayed in the inner sphere. He could have tamped down on the succession wars, made them not happen. Maybe even re-established the Star League. with him as the freaking emperor. Who knows? The fact that he fled the freaking inner sphere and took like one of the most powerful militaries to exist with it just caused a power vacuum that led to genocides, murders, whole worlds just starving to death. I mean, so Kerensky, in my opinion, is a coward and ultimately an evil figure in Baltic lore. And the Klan are a bunch of fascist, freaking eugenicists and scumbags. I don't like any part of that either. I can't understand why anyone would like to play a faction whose lore is literally looking down on people who have moms and dads. You know? It's like you're not even a human if you're a clanner. You're just some fucking clone. And honestly, I don't know because I don't know. But an argument could be made. Do the Klan pilots and shit even have souls? They were never born. They're literally made. They're made in test tubes. So, I mean, what the fuck is that? Right? So, yeah. Kerensky, scumbag. But I do use his favorite mech a lot, the Orion. That's a good mech, boy. Anywho. I guess I could talk a little bit about role-playing stuff. I mean, I told you guys I ran my game Saturday, and we all had a really good time. My brother-in-law played. He chose to play a Greek fighter, just a basic fighter, not whatever. And he had a great time. Like before he left Sunday afternoon, he was like, "Man, I really like that." He said campaign you ran, and I was like, "Well, that's just like the first 1/10 of a the adventure, man. That's nothing." He's like, "Well, I had a lot of fun." I said, "Well, I guess it's good that you're coming back next week. You can play with us next week too." And he was like, "Awesome." My brother-in-law is like much older than me, but he's an old hippie that used to play a lot of second edition AD&D. So, the fact that he could get thrown into the mix again, he was really happy about that. And so was I. And it turns out the brother-in-law is a decent role player. Like he's he's pretty good. Pretty good. I would say, yeah, really good, actually. Last week, the problem maker was actually Haas. Because whatever the group wanted to do, Haas was like, nope. His cleric is like, nah. Like at one point, the group's like, we should head back to town. And, whatever they wanted to do. And Haas's cleric is like, nope. Hey, Shadow, how you doing, brother? And they're like, why? He's like, I still got a heal spell. And you guys aren't even barely injured. He's like, you want to go all the way back to town? He's like, we can at least clear out this in the next room. And they're like, but, and he's like, no. He's like, screw that. You know what I mean? Let's at least finish checking things out. And of course, then I think the mage overheard the cleric trying to convince the berserker that they could clear the dungeon by themselves. They don't even need those guys. No, spend time with your kid. I didn't even invite you, Shadow. See, look at you, just assuming you're invited every time. Actually, you were, but I just wanted to, be away. Yes, spend time with your son while you can, man. It goes by really quick. And then the next thing you know, he's out in the world doing stuff, and you're standing by the phone wishing he'd call more. True story, guys. True story. So yeah, so that's kind of the stuff that went on, you know. The cleric is convinced that him and the berserker don't even need the rest of the party. The mage married a woman just so she would teach him spells. The Greek guy, he's just there to make money. He's pretty much a mercenary, the Greek warrior. And the berserker and the Amazon assassin, they're just doing their things, whatever those things are. So yeah, I mean, in addition to the 3 out of the 7 people in the group getting paralyzed by ghouls, and they were getting a little bit frightened by that shit, especially when the cleric got paralyzed by ghouls, and they were like, "Uh-oh, you know, this could be bad." They managed to pull it off, but still, it was getting rough, right? Then they fought some more tomb ghouls in another room, and yeah, they're just doing their thing, man. Here's my motor. If you go into the forest where he lives, he'll pick you up and like pin you to trees, unless you're special, in which case he'll try to force you to worship him. Oh, I wanted to show this off too. This is an old miniature. I painted this 15, 16, maybe even more than that ago. And you can see how the sword blade's no longer on there, because I had broken it off and replaced it with a flaming sword from the GW Wizard kit. And somehow it broke off again, probably in storage or something. But luckily, I've got the flaming sword bits. PB. I love that song, though. I've been thinking about you. I've been thinking about you. Yeah. Actually, what song is in my head right now? Ghost Town. This town is coming like a ghost town. All the clubs have been shut down. That's right. I said this town is coming like a ghost town. Bands won't play no more. Too much fighting on the dance floor. If you know the song, like, let me know you know that song. That's one of those songs back in the day when the British were really going through some bad shit. Like in the song, they're talking about how, like it mentions there's no jobs, you know, and so yeah, things weren't going good, and that's Nowhere Girl. I never even heard of that. Nowhere Girl. Is it anything like Nowhere Man? Yeah, it's definitely who is that? It's one of those like old 80s British kind of new wave punk groups that used to mix like punk with reggae a bit. But yeah, it's kind of like, I don't think it's the same band that did Mirrors in the Bathroom, but it's kind of like in that same, you know. Mirrors in a bathroom. Mirrors in a bathroom. You know, yeah. I mean, England pretty much dominated the 80s when you think about it. When it comes to actual cool music. I mean, between like the 2 bands I just mentioned, Madness, The Cure, freaking Joy Division. Like, I can't, David Bowie, obviously, but I can't even go on. There was just so much great prog rock and stuff like that coming out of England in the 80s, man. So good. I even love that one, Don't You Want Me? You know, I can't believe it when you say that you won't see me go. Yeah, man. Great songs. Of course, I mean, you know, I'd still rather listen to Leonard Skinner, but right. And my favorite Skinner song is Simple Man. Before anybody starts screaming Free Bird. No, Simple Man. That is the best Skinner song. The best. It's great advice, and it's just a really good song. You know. All right, got my hard coat, getting ready to put a shine on this freaking running orca. Yeah. Be a simple kind of man. Be someone you love and understand. Be a simple kind of man. I tell you, when it comes to American music, Southern rock back in the day was way better than anything that was being put out up north. I mean, so many great Southern rock bands, not just Skinner, but we had Tom Petty. We had Molly Hatchet. We had kind of Creedence Clearwater Revival. I think they started in California, but their sound was definitely the Bayou. I mean, just, yeah. Charlie Daniels, who I know he's country, but at least a couple of songs were played on rock stations, you know. Like The Devil Went Down to Georgia. Hell, that was played on every channel in America when it came out. I love too when it like the devil rosins up its bone and he starts playing and like that bass line kicks in. That don boom boom boom. It's like hell yeah, man. That's badass. Yeah, he rosined up his bow and a band of demons joined in. Sounded something like this. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. Yeah. Won't surprise any of you guys watching, but I am a huge fan of outlaw country and have been since I was a little kid. Like just earlier today, I was listening to a little bit of Waylon Jennings. Are you sure Hank did it this way? Right. I've seen the world with a 3-piece band, looking at the backside of me. Yeah. Are you sure Hank did it this way? I also like The Talk. Waylon Jennings and Hank Williams Jr. That's a good one. That's a good one, yeah. Country Boy by Hank Jr. That's a good one. And if you're not a country boy, well, then listen to Hank and find a way to become one. Because cities suck. You need to be out in the woods with the woman and the dogs and you, right? We say grace and we say, ma'am, if you ain't into that, we don't give a damn. Come from the West Virginia coal mines. See, I wish you'd said Kentucky coal mines, honestly. Fuck West Virginia. But still, the Rocky Mountains and the western skies. And we can skin a buck. We can run a trot line. And a country boy can survive. And just in case some of you are like, what in the F is a trot line? That's you take a big old line, right? It can be sturdy, thin rope. It can even be like really high test fishing line, and you tie about a foot long length of fishing line to that. And at the bottom, you put a triple hook. In a lot of states, it's illegal, but then you run the trot line like across the creek or the river or wherever you are. A lot of people will actually tie empty milk jugs to it to make sure that the line stays up and the hooks are down. And you just leave it and come back in a day and pull it up and pull your fish out. But if you're not careful in certain parts of the world, it can cost you your life. So here's what we'll do. If you want to hear how a trot line can cost you your life from a guy who knows 100% for sure how, like, I don't know, hit 1 in chat. If I can get a couple of you guys to hit 1, I will regale you with the story of trot lines killing people. Well, specifically, I know of one person, but if you don't want to hear, then don't hit any buttons at all, and I will continue putting this hard coat paint on my Orca. Also, if you guys, you guys that are still sticking around listening, if you want to hear me opine about something other than this this weird train of thought situation I've been on, you know, just mention something. Believe me, as a hillbilly, I can talk about everything. You see, I like how that hard coat makes him look wet and slick. I like that. Grow good old tomatoes and homemade wine, and a country boy can survive. Yeah. That's my relatives in Kentucky right there. The wife took over. At least she uses spices. You mean other than salt and pepper? What she think this is? Some kind of clown show, comrade? Tell her, look, you don't need all those spices, comrade. Salt and pepper. This is not a clown show. Of course, I didn't invent that saying. Boris said that in one of his things when he's talking. He was making goulash or something. I forget what it was. And he's like, salt and pepper the pork. We don't need anything else. This is not a clown show, comrade. And I just, for some reason, even though I heard that like a decade ago, it just stuck in my head. And now, every now and then I say that, you know, we only need salt and pepper. This is not a clown show. I learned how to make kvass from watching Boris. It's Boris. And I'll tell you what, I like kvass, but no one else around here did. And I guess I can accept it would be like a kind of something you know that grows on you. But I mean, if you want to make a homemade drink, it's the easiest thing in the world, man. Like literally, it's so easy, even a caveman could do it, and probably did. But so none of you want to hear about anything. That's too bad. Too bad. You're just gonna sit here and watch me paint miniatures like a dancing monkey. Is that what it is? Is that how we're doing? That's what we're up to today. All right. Yeah, Mobius, my wife, does the cooking around here most of the time. Every now and then she'll let me like grill up the steaks or something, but I mean, the thing is other than actual traditional goulash, She doesn't really care for most Russian food or Slavic food. And she definitely doesn't care for curries. And most of my things that I cook are curries or Slavic food. So, she would much rather, cook up whatever she's going to cook up, right? And a lot of the time she cooks like a 1950s housewife. Like she'll cook like some kind of casserole or something. There is your brother and there's my brother. Yeah. I've been sitting here just jabbering alone since you and Timmy left me. But yeah. Let me see here. Painting some eyes on these damn bears. I generally don't bother with painting eyes on things, but when they're so out there and easy to paint, I'll do it, Yeah, Mobius is telling me to dance like the monkey I am. Well, because I was like going to tell him the Trotline death story, but I'm only going to tell it to you if you like put something in chat, tell me you want to hear about it. And no one did. So now I'm just going to sit here and be like sad. Not really though. So I've painted his eyes white, and I'll go back and put some black dots. Still at the neighbors? Well, tell your neighbor I said Guten Nacht. Since he's German, he'll understand that. No, I'm going to say this for sure. I hope whatever's eating the bear up passes quick. Live streaming without having him to bitch about shit all the time. Just not as fun. And I've come to accept the fact that Shadow's just like mad at me. I'm not going to come on anymore. And my own brother's always got shit more important than hanging out with me. So maybe I'll just sit here and eat worms. Nobody likes me. Everybody hates me. I think I'll go eat worms. Did I just hear something about somebody getting STDs from Russian hookers in there? You're not wrong, Mobius. He's a Florida man like you. Okay. Well, in that case, tell him good mething. I don't know. Florida man. Good luck ripping copper wiring out of an abandoned trailer. I mean, I don't know. Making spaghetti. How long does it take you to make spaghetti, homie? Takes my wife 8 hours, but she don't got to stand over it all the time. My wife does not serve spaghetti sauce unless it has simmered for at least 6 hours. Now, I grew up on somebody cooked some like pasta noodles, and then they opened a jar of spaghetti sauce and dumped it in the bowl with the pasta noodles, and we ate it like that. And I can't say grew up. That was actually when I was already maybe close to my teen years or in my teen years. But yeah, the wife has shown me that spaghetti sauce is actually way better when you actually let it simmer for a long time. It takes the acid out of the tomato sauce and you know, just makes it better. Just makes it better. So yeah. Okay. So I'll let the white in the bear's eyes get good and dry, and then I'll put a little, little black paint in there. I could make them look like super evil bears and like put some red ink in each one, so they're just like glow in the dark, bear eyes. But no, actually, at some point, I need to finish painting these bastards up. The gugs that I've got like 10 of these gugs. And I know you can't see because I'm too shaky, but there's actually an eyeball like right there. And I need to paint those eyeballs up and, go with a white and then hit them with some kind of like a glowy red look. Squirrel Armit, how you doing? My wife will make spaghetti like that, except she doesn't put too much onion in. She does put a shit ton of garlic in, but that's at my request. I like a lot of garlic on everything. And lamb is so expensive down here that we don't put lamb in, but like pork and beef and sometimes sausage, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Sometimes, sliced up green pepper, definitely onion, because you can't even have tomato sauce without onion, crushed tomatoes. Because like I was saying earlier, my wife does not use jarred spaghetti sauce. She makes spaghetti sauce and it simmers on really low for like 8 hours, and then we have our pasta al dente. And, and because she loves me, she makes sure to buy the pasta that's like low carb, high protein pasta. Honestly, it's not as good as like the other normal pasta, but you get used to it and then it's good. But the first time you eat it, you're like, what the fuck is this? If you're used to just normal, like Bartelli or whatever. But, one thing she and I have been trying to do actively is reduce carb intake and increase protein intake for me. So, and it's been working and I've been feeling way better about everything, Like I said, I dropped 60 pounds and all of a sudden I wasn't winded every time I walked down to the mailbox and shit like that. So, and I never could have done it without her help because, she does the cooking. So if she wanted to, she could just feed me the worst shit every day and I'd eat it and end up, going full-blown diabetic and being like all fucked up and everything. Gain all that weight back, be 300 plus pounds again. But instead, I lost like a shit ton of weight really quick. But then since then, it's just been slow. I don't know if I plateaued or whatever, but I'm not worried about it, As long as I lose a little bit of weight every month, as long as I don't gain any back, because I did gain some back. I went from 320 to 220, and then I went up to like 240. But since then, it's been like a pound a month, losing the weight. And see, I lost weight at the exact wrong time. I lost weight like right before Christmas. And it's like, that's the worst time of the year to try to lose weight, right before Christmas. Because that's when you're going to all the family stuff and there's all this amazing food around. And unless you've got the willpower of like a machine. You're going to eat, and then, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I love onion rings. Yeah, yeah. If you cut them fine and you simmer that for a little bit, those onions will just vanish. They'll just ghost right into the sauce. And like you said, what you don't know, you can't bitch about. We've kind of done the same thing, but on accident. My pops and my youngest daughter hate mushrooms. And we've cooked stuff that actually had mushroom, but it was so fine. And we didn't do it on purpose. It was like after the fact, we're like, oh shit, you know, that can of mushroom soup we used, you know, for this recipe, blah, blah, blah. And neither one of them could tell a damn thing because I don't think either of them hate the taste of mushroom. I think it's a texture thing for them, you know, which I don't get because I absolutely love mushroom in just about. If it's a savory dish involving meat, then I'm like, yeah, throw some mushrooms in there too, you know. But we had some great onion rings the other day. We got a British style sports pub down the street from my house, and they serve amazing fish and chips. But another thing they do, and this is they have like the best onion rings I've ever had. So, you know, we took my brother-in-law out to dinner down there, and I got some onion rings off of my wife because she ordered her sandwich with onion rings and I ordered a Cobb salad. So she wasn't going to be able to eat her whole thing anyway because she barely ever does finish anything. So I got some onion rings to go with my Cobb salad, which was pretty nice. I have to admit, pretty nice, pretty okay. So for no particular good reason, those of you who are still listening, I have based my Carnotauruses. Why? Because they were in front of me and I'm like, okay, I'll base these things, right? And so I usually mix my own base up. It's got like some of the fake leaves and various different kinds of whatever. And then I mix it all up and I base them all up. And then, of course, because, you know, I'm that kind of nerd, I got some, I've got some tufts around here somewhere. And when I locate them, I'll throw a couple tufts on, you know, the grass tufts. Maybe I'll throw some of the foam greenery around it just a little bit. Make it blend in with the environment. Like the priest, since I figure that most battles during the 11th century probably took place in, you know, fields and stuff, I went ahead and gave him a grass base. But I mean, some things like these gugs, which only ever live in caves deep underground, I mean, then they get the stony base, right? And this guy, which is a Kings of War figure, but I would use as an Eskimo warrior in my Hyperborea game, he's going to get the snow base because look at how he's dressed. He's wearing all the hides and furs and stuff. So obviously this guy lives, you know, up in the tundra and stuff. So, right. So I do think about life when I, like the War Machine mage I showed you. The reason she's on a desert base is my entire War Machine army's on a desert base because Menoth is a desert, and she is part of that faction. She is, I think they call her the Living Saint. In the lore, she's like a 15-year-old girl that the monks drag her around like a freaking Zeppelin because she's supposedly so holy her feet can't touch the ground. But haven't painted in a while. Like I said, that girl's 20 years old, maybe. And the reason I use her is in the old edition of War Machine. I don't know what it's like now. It's been so long. If you tuck her, one, she gets 10 focus, which is the highest of anybody, right? And the negative is she's on a large base, which means you can't hide her too well. But then the other positive is every jack you take that doesn't have a ranged weapon costs less. So I would field her and like the Avatar of Menoth, which is a big jack that generates its own focus, and then a shit ton of Crusaders, which are the cheapest jack Menoth gets. And since they don't have ranged weapons, they're even cheaper. So I could field like 9 of them. And because they're on a large base, if I put 2 of them touching bases in front of her, then no one can shoot at her unless they get a flank on, right? So basically what they called it in my store is the jack ball, you know, where I've got the Avatar of Menoth running around just doing whatever, you know, guarding flanks and wrecking shit. And I've got a giant 1 or 2 balls of, you know, 4 heavy jacks just going across at you, you know, and I literally didn't give a shit if I lost a couple of them, you know. It's like, because if I can get, you know, if I can get 6 Crusader jacks base to base or within 2 inches of you, you are dead every time, 100%. You will be dead. Especially since one of her spells she can't cast makes somebody automatically hit or some shit. So like Sacred Strike or whatever in D&D. So yeah. And if we played more points than that, I would throw in a 10-man unit of Zealots with Commander. And I would throw in like a Paladin, you know. And the whole point of the Paladin was basically just to sneak behind the jacks. And then if somebody, again, tried to pull a flank or something, to charge the Paladin in and try and wipe them out. They, in my opinion, were very OP for their points cost. So, of course, you know, that means I'm going to take at least 1. And the Crusaders, for their points cost, especially with the discount, because you're taking the Saint, broken. Because a Crusader, if you had the focus on it for it to get a couple attacks in, could literally take out a heavy jack in 1 round. Just bam, bam, with that big mace. How you doing, Squirrel? What is up, homie? So, yeah. Good times. The only army I hated was the Cygnus army, if they had their giant machine that bounced lightning around. Because since I kept things in clusters, if it hits one, it's going to bounce all through the whole cluster. Hated that. But that was after they added like the super stuff to the game. And strangely enough, that's about when 2nd edition died too. You know what I mean? So adding those super resin giant things to the game, apparently not a great idea, because the game in my era was doing great. It was actually beating out Warhammer, really, as far as the number of players that were showing up at the local comic shop and playing. And as soon as they released all that bullshit, it was like, boom. People just stopped playing, you know. So I got my brunette girl over here. Like I said, I just pick random miniatures up and start painting on them, you know, that are sitting in front of me just because I've got the paint out. I bought this character mainly in case my wife wanted to use this character to represent her Berserker, but she chose another one. But I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be like Red Sonja. So, yeah, I'd done her painting up. I need to work on the face. But instead of giving her red hair, I gave her more like brunette hair. And in, nostalgic memory of when I played Dark Age of Camelot, I gave her the blue paint across the eyes. So more like a Celtic warrior than whatever Red Sonja was, a Hyrcanian or something. But yeah. Any convention streams coming up, Squirrel Hermit? I don't know. Squirrel Hermit is very non-conventional. See, I make myself laugh. Okay, what color should I do his hair? I think I'll do blonde. I think that'll be a nice contrast, a nice splash of color. Because she's holding some dude's head. And I'm thinking I'll do blonde. And that could represent the fact that she's a Celtic warrior princess and she's killed a Viking. Because those two ethnic groups in Hyperborea aren't necessarily the best of friends, What with the Vikings, invading and burning down Celtic cities and stuff. So yeah. Turns out in Hyperborea that the Vikings are kind of jerks. Not as big a jerks as Hyperboreans themselves, but still. They're kind of jerks. Not as bad as the Eskimo, who, all worship Cthulhu, the Dreaming One, and are cannibals. Well, not all of them, but, the majority of them. That's one thing about Hyperborea, man. A large percentage of the different people groups and cults and stuff in that game, in any other D&D game, and even in Hyperborea, really, are just straight up evil. They're just evil. But it's funny how when you've got like Yog, the god of beasts and cannibalism in the pantheon, then all of a sudden other deities like Tsathoggua, who in any other circumstance would be considered basically a demon, all of a sudden are considered to be not that bad. It's like, so it's a game where there's shit so bad in the game that it makes other stuff seem really not so bad, No Gary Con this year. Aw. I'll tell you what, Vic keeps wanting to get me up to Minnesota, but I think some of you might understand my reticence, I mean, Minnesota doesn't seem like the kind of place I want to hang out in right at the moment. Maybe in the future, But right at the moment, not really feeling it. Bubba's supposed to have been talking about maybe getting a convention going. And if it happens during the same time when the wife and I are visiting family in Kentucky, I don't know. Maybe I would swing in there for a day. Because he's not very far from where I live, really. I mean, he's on the other side of the mountain, but still. Yeah, I mean, another thing is I don't know if Minnesota is reciprocal or reciprocates your CW licenses the way like basically Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, and everyone else does. And I typically do not travel unless I'm armed. So if I were to go to Minnesota and end up, going to prison for, concealed carrying because they're a bunch of bitches and don't allow it, that would be not great, right? But if I visit family in Georgia or Kentucky or Tennessee, it's all good, you know. They're okay with it. And yeah, so that's also a huge determinant on where I go and where I visit, you know. Not just all the riots and shit, which I'm sure they probably wouldn't be like, you know, rioting at a game convention. Yeah. I'm sure Vic doesn't have to worry about anything where he is. But like I said, I don't want to enter a state where they don't reciprocate, you know, concealed carry. I'm just not going to do it. It's like too risky for me because it's not that I'm paranoid. It's just I don't want to be anywhere and feel helpless, you know? And when you hit about 50, your fighting days are pretty much done. No matter, you know, unless you're like some real freaking macho badass guy. Yeah, I'm not trying to fight somebody. I'll let them have my wallet and shit. But if I feel like their intent is even more negative than that, then I'll just send them to Jesus. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I visit relatives in Georgia a lot. Geez, I feel like I might as well be a citizen of Georgia. The amount of time I spend in Georgia, and you know, I head up to Kentucky occasionally, and it's like that's good enough for me. I don't need to be in a blue state anyway. I'm not the kind of guy that should ever be in a blue state. Not that I feel like I would ever get in trouble, because I have this ability to just basically most of the time keep my mouth shut when I'm out and about, not draw attention to myself. You know, that's how I was raised. You know, my mama raised me, when you're out in public, you just go do your business and try not to, you know, affect anyone else in any way. But being a huge fan of my Second Amendment rights, I like the idea that should, in the extreme rare event that something should happen, that I can handle it. You know what I mean? Instead of standing there with the dumb look on my face being a victim. And that's why, you know, yeah, we've talked about that though, right? I think we've been over that. That's a big reason I just not a huge fan of a lot of those northern states. But you know. All right. I got my little girl here. Believe it or not, this little girl, I should do her eyes. But this little girl right here is actually the apprentice of my wizard for my Frostgrave army. Right? And the wizard in my Frostgrave band is a thaumaturgist, so a cleric, basically. And you can see where, to weight her down, I put that washer on her, but there's a gap. So I am going to make a little bit of green stuff and fill the gap in. And then when it's completely filled in, I'll go ahead and probably I'll give her a snow base, since Frostgrave, the city there, is just always frozen. And then I'll paint the brim of the base black. Because I typically like painting bases black. Sometimes I don't, but most of the time that's what I like to do. Yeah, Vic has been on the road. doing his thing, driving the truck. And, you know, that's cool. I mean, thank goodness for the truck drivers. Otherwise, like, oh man, the whole fire department's going out there. I don't know if you can hear them, but sounds like all of them. If all of them are going and the engine is in front of the rescue, that means it's a structure fire or a really bad vehicle collision. So, you know. Yeah. I'll tell you what, if I could go anywhere, but again, this interferes with like what I was saying earlier. I would love to go hang out with Father Aaron at his Claricon thing. That would kind of be my dream convention, honestly. I mean, GaryCon too, but you know, Father Aaron is probably one of my favorite heretics in the world. So to be able to go up there and just hang out with him, and like I would just enjoy being in his presence, you know, and just listen to him tell his stories and stuff. I will say this about Father Aaron. He is a tremendously charismatic teller of stories. Like when you watch him doing his recaps and shit, I wish I had the ability to do recaps the way he does. I mean, he is so good. Another person I would love to meet at a convention would be Double D. I think if Double D and I ever hung out with Mouse and Rogan, I think we would just have a few beers, play some games, and be like peas in a pod, man. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe he'd meet me and be like, F this guy. He might even call me short, even though I'm 6'1", but apparently Double D's like much taller. But yeah. So anyway, for the next little bit, I guess I'm just going to sit here and think about all the people who are involved in tourneys or whatever that I'd love to hang out with. Yeah, so Double D, obviously. I don't know about a tournament, but if I ever find myself in Utah, I am looking my boy Holy Diver up, and I will maybe, if I'm lucky, whip the shit out of his Iron Warriors with my Blood Angels. I mean, that would be a lot of fun. Holy Diver and I, and then afterwards we could go out and, you know, grab a steak and some bourbon or some beer or something. I don't know what he likes, but I know what I like. Yeah. Actually, Holy Diver's the kind of guy that I think I just hang out with, you know. Like even if we weren't gaming, I'd just like kind of hang out and be like, "What's up, homie? What you up to, man?" I think he and I could probably pop open a few beers and BS for hours. Just cracking jokes, you know. Double D too, Mouse too. Father Aaron would be different because he's a Padre, so I would love to be around him and like listen to his stories and shit, but I don't know if I could ever truly open up around him because of him being a priest. And I'd be like on my best behavior, you know, like I would never curse around him or anything like that. I'd be like, yeah, what I said, best behavior. See, Bear called me out on that, and I was like, F you, Bear, but deep down inside, he was right. Because he's like, why is it that every time Father Aaron shows up, all of a sudden you know, stop cursing and start acting whatever. I forget how he said it, but basically like that. And I'm like, nah, that's not what's going on. But let's be honest. He got me. He got me. And now that I think about it, I'm like, I'm not even ashamed of it. I mean, so maybe he's not an Orthodox priest, and maybe I think he should be an Orthodox priest, but at the end of the day, he's still a priest. And yeah, I have a tendency to be on my best behavior around preachers and priests. You know what I'm saying? Freaking, you're not going to catch me cursing and carrying on even in front of a rabbi. Like, I don't know why. There's something about the fact that Father Aaron to me is kind of an authority figure. So yeah, I'm not going to roll up and be like, slap him on the arm. What up, bro? How you doing? It's like, no. And he might be like, no, man, I'm just a normal guy. But no, you're not. You're Padre. And, sorry, you chose your job, not me. If you wanted me to treat you like we were the same, then you should have become a fucking blue collar construction worker or something. And then I'd have rolled up and cussed around and, brought beer and all that. But no, you wanted to be a priest. And now I'm going to treat you with the respect that entails, Can't help it. I can't even help it. It's ingrained. It's ingrained. Like, I talk shit about, like, say, a lot of Protestants, but if I'm like standing in front of like a preacher or something, I'm not being mean to that guy. I'm treating him with the utmost respect. Everyone I know that has met Father Aaron says that he is truly a scholar and a gentleman. Just the nicest guy. See, now Double D, I would not have any problem just letting it all hang out, drinking beer, talking shit, just me and the boys kind of thing. You know what I mean? And if Father Aaron ever hears this, I hope he understands. I can't help it, And if Bear ever hears this, then he can smirk and be like, I was right. And and the only thing I can say is, yeah, you were right. I do treat Father Aaron totally different than I treat anyone else. I do straighten the F up and make sure that I'm on my best behavior. But yeah. Yep. See, now this, when I painted her, I don't know what red I used, but it kind of faded out. So I just went ahead and touched up her red with bold pyrite red from Pro Acryl, because I want her to, stand out better. And now I'm going to use a little Gilliman flesh shade, but instead of shading her whole face, I'm just going to shade her eyes and maybe her mouth, just a tiny bit in there, just to drop in the grooves so that I can then see her actual eyes, Sometimes that's something I do, because sometimes it's really hard to actually see a miniature's eyes once you put paint on it. So if you just put the tiniest little drop of flesh shade, and it can be any flesh shade, this is just what I got, and you just put the tiniest little drop in the eye and let it do its thing. Then if you actually want to go on and paint the eyes, you can actually see them much better. Or, if you're feeling lazy like I do sometimes, you can just leave them that way. I mean, In other good news, yeah, the staff sergeant that led my platoon when I was in the Army and went to golf and everything called me last night. And we talked for freaking 45 minutes, man. And it's so weird. I've been out of the Army since like 90 freaking 3. I still can't help but call him Sergeant. And, we were just remembering stuff. And then I was telling him stuff that happened that like he didn't even know about. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you got to understand, Sergeant, that like when I was in the E4 Mafia and we were doing shady shit around the barracks and stuff, like we weren't going to tell you no matter how cool we thought you were. And he just started laughing. He's like, yeah, that's true. Oh man, it was so good talking to the guy. I always thought he was only like 5 years older than me or so. It turns out that he's like 75 years old. I was like, God, man. So he would have been 40 back then, around. He didn't look 40. I mean, he was in great shape and everything. So I don't know what he is doing, but I mean, being in an infantry unit and you know, having a bunch of teenagers under your command, that can't be easy. You know what I mean? But, and yes, if I haven't already agreed with you, Squirrel, because I read to see if anything's new, and I think sometimes I respond to the same thing twice, I 100% agree. But you're also on that list of people that if I ever leave this place and go outside into the world to visit somebody to game with, Squirrel Hermit, you're definitely on the list too. I mean, yeah, you can count yourself definitely on that list of people that I think me and Squirrel Hermit would just be a freaking menace to society if we hung out. I mean, you got your Ohio Buckeye and your Kentucky Hillbilly. If we ever hung out, boy, we just rip it up. Just ripping and tearing all over the place. It'd be good. It'd be good. Plus, every time Squirrel tells me what he's cooking or his wife's cooking for dinner, it always sounds delicious. Like, I'm always like, you know, when he's like, oh, we're having pierogi and cabbage, or we're having this and that. And I'm always like, damn, that sounds so good. You know what I mean? Like, I'd like to have that. Even if my wife is cooking something amazing herself, it's like, I tell you what, you can't beat good down home cooking, whether it's Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, whatever. You know, that little region there, you can't beat that food, man. You can't beat it. Some kielbasa and cabbage or sauerkraut or whatever we're having. You know, just
So, I mean, and from what I've heard, the
yeah.
testimony she gave.
Yeah, Squirrel. That's so you know. I mean, I want you to know. You know, if something ever happens and I manage to find my way up in your area, I'm definitely giving you a call. I'll contact you through Discord and be like, "Hey, man, I'm up here at wherever. Bring the wife. Let's go out on the town and tear it up. Let's go sample some of that Buckeye hospitality and some of that good food. Except no Skyline chili, though. They put like cinnamon or sugar in their chili in Cincinnati. Nah, not my thing. If like a person likes that, I'm 100% good with that. Like what you like, but nah. I don't need any cinnamon in my chilies. Thank you. Thank you kindly. I'd prefer to have no cinnamon in my beans. So, oh yeah. My wife and I, we eat sauerkraut, fried cabbage, boiled cabbage. But honestly, we don't eat it because it's good for our guts, even though I know it's good for our guts. We eat it just because we love it. You know what I mean? I have always been a huge fan of cabbage. And then later in life, when exposed to it, I become a huge fan of sauerkraut. And right now, not to be too braggartly about things, but I have a whole jar of amazing kimchi in the fridge that I've been working on. Like the other day, we had hot dogs, and I put kimchi on my hot dog. A little kimchi, a little mustard, and by little, I mean a lot. So I had this nice Sam's, which is like the best hot dog you can get in Florida. you know, on the bun and just layered some kimchi on top of that and a little mustard. Oh my God. My only disappointment is the kimchi on the jar. It says hot, and I don't think it's hot. But it's real deal kimchi, the ferment. I'm back. Yeah, but it's real deal kimchi. It's fermented and whatever. And then the other day we were in the Aldi's and they had pickles, and they're real, like actual pickles, the kind of never been cooked or exposed to heat. They've just been fermented in the brine or whatever. So pick that up, and I'm like, oh man, real dill pickles. You know, because you buy the like Dixie treat or whatever the brand is you guys got, and it's thin sliced pickle, right? And it's fine if you're going to throw it on a hamburger or something. But if you actually look at those slices, those pickles look sad. They look really sad. And it's because they boiled the shit out of them. And pickles are not supposed to be boiled. You know, when you pickle vegetables, they're not supposed to be boiled. But that's the easy way, you know. And the American food industry just wants to do shit the easy way, not necessarily the best way. So that's why I go out of my way. Like if I buy sauerkraut, I make sure it's real deal fermented sauerkraut with all the probiotics and all the good stuff in it, not some can of, cabbage shreds that's been boiled in vinegar. Because, well, that's still better than nothing, honestly, though. Before I'd be like, yeah, anything you can eat that has vinegar involved is really good for you. So even shitty sauerkraut that's cooked in vinegar is still going to be good for you because there's so much nutritional value in vinegar. But I mean, if you're going to eat fermented vegetables, you really just want to get fermented vegetables. You want to get real traditional kimchi or real traditional sauerkraut or whatever it is that you like. Otherwise, you're really missing out on a huge part of the nutritional value of what you're eating.
So she may have thought, well, this will just stop my dad from getting custody and mom will stop being a bee,
Well, here's the thing, Mobius. When the wife boils cabbage, it's never alone.
Right.
It's like there's carrots in it, maybe some celery in it, always an onion. Like if you're putting a head of cabbage sliced up in to boil, you're also putting an onion in. There's going to be a spoonful of diced garlic clove, right? Salt, pepper. And then it's going to go on the side of meat. And this could be like a good kielbasa, smoked sausage, like pretty much anything, right? So, I'll have my big plate and it'll be like half full of just a mound of cabbage and then some meat on the side. And that'll be dinner, And yeah, I like that. Another thing, believe it or not, cooked cabbage pairs so good with pinto bean soup. Like when I do up pinto bean soup and cornbread, the traditional hillbilly style, and then I cook up some cabbage, whether it's boiled or fried, I'll fill the bowl mostly with pinto bean soup, throw some salt and pepper on, and then I'll throw cabbage in there too. And give it a stir, and man, heaven. Yep, pretty much heaven right there. I mean, though, I don't know. Do you Canadians eat a lot of beans and cornbread, though? And that's like a real question because, I mean, I imagine the fact that a lot of you guys are descended from the same people we are, that maybe you do eat, because growing up, pinto beans was the thing I ate the most ever. My grandma would buy like giant bags of dried pinto beans because they were so dirt cheap, right? And we would have a big old bowl of pinto bean soup on the table, no matter what was for dinner. So it wasn't like always we're having pinto bean soup for dinner. Even if she had chicken, pork chops, whatever, it did not matter. There was always a big bowl of pinto beans. And then the only white type bread we ever ate might be biscuits. Like we never got, like, when I was young, up until maybe 10 or 11, I never ate white bread or any kind of bread like that. It was biscuits or cornbread. And as I've said a billion times on here, Kentucky cornbread is not sweet. It's made out of the roughest ground freaking white corn you can find and cooked in a cast iron skillet with lard in the oven. And the secret is you get that cast iron skillet really hot before you pour the cornmeal in so that the bottom gets that really crispy golden color. And then you throw it in the oven and let it finish up, right? And then you cut your good square cornbread or a good wedge, take it out. And then, you can fill the bowl up, put some beans in, maybe some fresh onion, fried potato if you got it. Throw the cornbread in with the beans. Mush it all up. And always just a dash of vinegar or a vinegar-based hot sauce. My grandma made homemade hot sauce by taking like a jar, and she put those little peppers that grew out on the bush in the jar, and then she'd fill it the rest of the way up with like apple cider vinegar, and she'd just set it in the kitchen, and like after about a month or so, there you go. That's your hot sauce, So, yeah. But if we weren't having fried potatoes, we were having fried or boiled cabbage. And I'll tell you what, maybe it could be a combination of that food I was eating. Every bit of it was cooked in lard. And the fact that I was running up and down the freaking hills nonstop. But when I was a little kid, man, I was like the healthiest little kid. You know what I mean? I never got sick. I was just like, I never got tired. Me and my brother, man, walking 10 miles through the woods to get to the river to fish was like something we would do and not even think twice about it. And this is when we were like 13. We'd be like on a Friday, we're home from school, ask permission to go fishing for the weekend. And if we got everybody was cool with it, we would pack up some canned vegetables and stuff. And when I say canned, I mean my grandma canned them. So they were in jars. And we'd grab blankets and stuff, and we would trek through the forest from my grandma's farmhouse all the way over to the river. That's a good 10 or 15 miles each way. And it was like not even a thing. So the fact that, a kid can't walk to school today if it's more than 3 blocks, I laugh, man, because we would just be all over the fucking place. See, scones, isn't that what you guys call biscuits? Like a scone and a biscuit's basically the same thing, kind of, sort of. Do you need to go to the store? Or are you just walking him out?
I'm taking him out a little bit later though.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm getting ready to log off.
Right now I'm just letting him potty because he was doing the dance.
Yeah, I about said everything I intend to say for the rest of the day, really.
And sometimes sometimes when he does the dance, it precludes.
Yeah, if he starts dancing in front of you, he's maybe signaling that maybe you need to go out for a minute. But yeah, I think you think scones are biscuits, or your scones are biscuits. I don't know exactly. I don't know if
Our
I've.
biscuits are more like scones.
You're right, but aren't scones like sweeter?
No, their biscuits are kind of like our cookies. If you're talking.
Oh, they
English
call
people.
cookies biscuits,
Yeah.
and they call biscuits scones.
Yeah, scones are not necessarily sweeter, and they're not completely the same, but they would be close.
I've seen scones; they're flatter.
Yeah,
It's like they're flatter, like denser.
they can be sweet, but they don't have to be.
Yeah, my mom makes biscuits in a cast iron skillet, and these things are that big around and puff up that tall, and they're like when she makes the biscuit dough, it has like layers of butter all in it. And boy, you could take that and put it on a plate and rip it open like open face and pour some nice thick sausage gravy all over that. Forget about it. You'll want to. I mean, you better go exercise later, or you'll get 400 pounds. But I mean, because you're basically eating liquid bread with sausage on top of cooked bread. But man, oh man, my wife showed me the funniest thing like a week ago.
You sound like such a southerner talking about sausage gravy. You didn't even used to like it. That's so
I didn't like it until you made it, because growing up, my grandma, it would have like a tablespoon of sausage in the whole gravy because we were so poor. But when you made it and it was just basically chunky sausage, I was like, yeah, I like this. I like this a lot.
Chunky sausage with gravy.
I mean, I like sausage, but just plain white gravy, I'm like,
No,
nah.
my gravy's tan colored.
Yeah, I don't care for that. I like my gravy to be so full of meat that it's just meat, kind of liquid with a little liquid coating on it.
And that's mine.
And that's what you make. My wife has turned me around to a lot of food that I didn't like, and all of a sudden she made it, and she made it the way I like it. Yeah. But when you grow up poor, gravy sometimes is made literally just out of flour and whatever the grease left over in a pan is from cooking something. And not a huge fan of that. I've ate it, but it's not my favorite. My wife, though, when she makes sausage gravy, she'll literally take the whole tube, like a 1 pound tube of sausage or whatever, cook that, and then make gravy. So when you pour it on your thing, it's just sausage. And yeah, that's good. But you're going to work out afterwards, or else, like I said, you're going to be 500 pounds, because that is some heavy carbs right there. Mobius wouldn't let you kids do the shit we did. I don't know what gen you are, Mobius. I don't think you and I've ever really sat down and got to know each other. But I'm 54. My brother's 51 or 52. He's very close to me in age. And so we were Gen Xers. And we basically did, we behaved and we did chores and we did like whatever grandma and grandpa said and mom said, because, that was of an era when your parents were not afraid to whip your little ass if you were acting up. Like right in the middle of the fucking Rose's supermarket. If you're acting up, you'd catch an ass whipping. Like anywhere, anytime. Okay, so you're the same age as Haas and Hungar. But man, we had so much freedom to try and get killed. It was amazing. Like our young asses would be out roaming the mountainsides, going into caves without telling anybody we were going into caves. There were a couple of times we were a mile deep, at least. I'm estimating, I don't know, it could be an exaggeration, but like there were times we would go into a cave, and if something bad had happened and we had died, no one ever would have found us, because no one even knew where we were or what we were doing, Ah, yeah. See, we didn't get in the river so much because, the river near where we were was always like freezing cold, and there's catfish in there that get like 7 feet. So, not huge fans of, you know. And a lot of the creeks near us were like completely overrun with leeches too. You know, you go swimming and get out and you have leeches all over you, and terrible, right? But as far as going through the woods and going caving and stuff, yeah, just ask some random person, can we borrow your phone? God, the parents. I bet your parents were thrilled by that. See, we would vanish on Friday and we would show up Sunday. And our parents, like, we'd come rolling in and they'd be like, so how'd you do? And we'd be like, show them. If we had fish to bring home, we'd give them the fish we brought home. And if we didn't, you know, we'd be like, well, we ended up not really catching much and had to live off the jarred stuff we took, but otherwise it was pretty fun. Sometimes we'd find geodes and bring them home, and you know, because that part of the Cumberland River, if you walk down it and look around, in addition to finding shit tons of coal that's just laying on the shore and all rounded, but it's still anthracite, you could also find geodes and stuff. So really interesting. But thing with the Cumberland River is it doesn't slope down like you'd think a river does. It like slopes down until you're like 10 foot from the shore, and then it drops straight a couple 100 feet. I think the average depth of the Cumberland River is like 300 feet or some crazy thing like that. And it's just straight down, you know, so yeah. But the number of times Haas and I could have died way up in a cave somewhere. Of course, I'll tell you guys something that's weird. We were 10, 11, 12, 13. We were armed. Like at that time, I used to carry this single shot shotgun, the kind that broke down. Hell yeah, our grandpa gave us all like Marlin 22s, the tube fed ones. I mean, so we'd be wandering around the woods, but we were armed because our parents never would have let us out in those woods without being armed, you know, no matter what age we were. And that's still a thing I live with even today. Even on my own property that I own, don't go out in those woods unless you got a gun on you. I know I don't. But, you know, Canada, you guys might be nicer or something, or wherever a lot of you guys are, and you don't got to worry about that kind of shit. But if you're anywhere around the mountains near Hazard, London, freaking Pikeville, Bethany, Harlan, yeah, you're not going out in those mountains being unarmed. I mean, not a year passes that someone doesn't go missing, you know, out in the Appalachia. So there's some bad people out there, some really bad people. So yeah, that's why I always say, I always talk about the hairy man, which is our version of Bigfoot, really, except he's very aggressive, or dogmen, or whatever other monsters I talk about living in Appalachia, right? But if I'm being honest, between me and you guys, the thing I fear most is people. If I'm up on the mountainside on my property and I wander into some guy just walking through the woods, no one lives near me. So my first thought is, why in the, if this is this guy on my property? How did he get here and why is he here? And the safe assumption is tomfoolery, shenanigans, up to no good. So the fact that I'm armed to the teeth at that point, you know, I'm not saying I draw down on him and put my AK in his face, but I let him know. You need to turn around and go back wherever you came from. Don't come back, you know, because chances are it's probably some random meth head looking for some place he can set up a meth lab or something, you know, whatever he's doing, he don't need to be there. And, you know, Now, if it's one of my cousins or something, that's totally different. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? What you doing? And the hunting deer or something. I'll be like, awesome, dude. Good luck. You know, whatever, right? Because family's family, and I let my family hunt on my property pretty much every year. And Haas gets the benefit of that because they'll give him some of the venison they get. But since I'm all the way in Florida, I don't get any of that benefit. Maybe if we move up there, I'll be able to get my venison tax from all my cousins that hunt on my property. I'll tell them, look, you can hunt on it, but if you kill a deer, I expect to get my beak a little wet with this situation, right? I got a stand up freezer. If I can fill that full of venison, I'd be pretty happy about it, you know. That'd go a long way, you know, and to making me a lot happier. But that's how we are up there. We share a lot, you know. Like if my family slaughtered a pig, like all of our close relatives were going to get some of that pig, you know. Let's see. Got stuck climbing halfway down a mountain. Thought I was dead. Buddy talked you through it. Yeah. Well, if you're going through something dangerous, this is something I had to learn in the fire service, but I probably just learned it when I was a kid. The best thing ever is to have somebody calm with you, like, you know, talking you through it. Like we used to every 6 months have to go through this fire maze that was supposed to replicate being trapped in a collapsed building, which means it was an absolute pain in the ass. It was pitch black. You had to be in full gear on air. And if you didn't traverse the whole thing, which was a maze, before you ran out of air, that was just a fail, you know. And then our training chief would be in there with us with night vision on, and he would like move cables so that we'd get caught in them and fuck with us. And there were a couple times I'd be wedged in somewhere because this was really enclosed, right? And I could feel my heart rate kind of going up a little bit, like, and I'd have to just stop and be like, it's okay, man. It's okay. You're going to get through this, right? There are a couple times when Chief Mac got so mad at me because I'd be on my back climbing through and he would wrap wire around my freaking SCBA tank. And if I couldn't get it off, I'd just reach into the front pocket of my turnout gear and grab my wire snips, snip, 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 just start cutting wire and shit. And I'd hear him, God damn it, McKee, you ain't supposed to cut the wire. You're fucking up my maze. And I'd be like, hey, you know, whatever. And through I'd go. One year I had to go through that maze like 8 times because everyone kept calling out sick on the day they were scheduled to do the maze. So the next shift when they would show up, they'd have to go do the maze, except instead of taking one of the guys who had been there for 15 years to do the maze with them, because you're supposed to do it with partner, they picked the newest guy on shift to do it, and it was me. So yeah, one year I had to go through that maze at least 6 times, might have been 8. And it's just like, oh. And you'd think that means I got really good at it. No. Like the first bit of the maze, they close the door, it's pitch black, and you got to fill around with your arm, your hands to try and figure out. And you got to crawl through an area that's maybe a foot and maybe 2 foot wide. And if you're like me, big guy, right? I would have to like remove my pack and then, but keep on air, but remove your SCBA pack and slide it through, and then try to belly slide through with your pack. And then when you get through, if you got a little area, then you put the pack back on, and you're doing all the shit in pitch black. And then, you know, feel around and find the stairs. See, I almost can remember the maze now. And climb up the stairs, but then there was a ramp that was maybe 2 by 2 feet. And you'd have to try to traverse down the ramp, and there'd be wires and shit just all across everything. And you're up here trying to fucking get through all this while the chief is going out of his way to make it even harder. And yeah, so, I mean, so I got cussed that one time pretty good, but lucky for me, McAllister, who has passed away since, God have mercy on his soul. I think he really liked me because my last name basically was a Mick name too. And that might sound a way racist or tribalist or something, but let's be honest. He was an old school, already had retired from another department and was retiring from our department. So 40 years in the fire service, old school Irish fireman. So I showed up with my Irish name and he was like, yeah, that's my boy right there, which is why he gave me such a huge discount for Fire Academy. And when I talked to him, he gave me all the gear I would need. I didn't have to pay for anything. And then when they had the job open, I tested, I got hired. A part of that could have been Mac just wanting to see another Mick on the force. You know what I mean? And like I said, that might sound away, but there was a time when pretty much every firefighter was some Mick, that was just how it was in America. You run into a firefighter, chances are his name starts with MC, MAC, or O, and he was from that era, where the Irish guys were looking out for the Irish guys. And totally different now. Like last time I was at the department, it was 80% Puerto Ricans. But when I got hired, yeah, I was one of the mix. Mac liked me a lot, even when I effed up. Anyway, though, it's been more than enough time. If Bear watches this, Bear, if you watch this, stop running from me. Right? Be strong enough to accept my love. And maybe one day Shadow would join me instead of making excuses all the effing time. So until then, peace and love. And Mobius, it is nice having you to chat with a little bit. And just so you guys know, because I know you're like, okay, I actually got a lot done. Like, I got to do this guy's fur because he's some kind of barbarian all wrapped in fur with antlers on his helmet. But I got a lot of him done. I got, where is she? Where is she? I got this guy, except for his boots and leather stuff. He's pretty much done. I got my bears done. I got my walking orcas done. They're done. They're ready. I got my apprentice mage done. Happy about that. Oh, yeah, I think I'm going to call this one done too. She looks ready to be adventuring and doing stuff. So she's done. And that means all the things I'm saying are done will be put into the storage and they'll be off the desk. And then, oh yeah, these Carnosauruses, they're done. They're based and everything. So they'll be able to go into the case. So even though I've been sitting here like running off at the mouth for 3 hours, and so it's not a waste of time because I've got a lot of stuff done. She's done, actually. I think she's done. I think I like the simplicity of her. Another Red Sonja wannabe, basically. Come on. Focus in. Focus. Now, this lady is not done. And I should be contacting the person I bought it off of, because I know for a fact I did not request the topless version. And he sent me the topless version. But she's got the red hair and a big axe. And maybe I'll, hide the topless bit. But yeah, she's topless. So I'm thinking I'll just like paint on some gold, like, Conan style nipple cups and stuff. Because, yeah, like I get it. I mean, Frank Frazetta and topless hot chicks with big axes, but honestly, I can't actually show you guys this miniature on YouTube. They might get mad at me for showing you boobies or something. So even if I did want to paint it up like realistic with, nipples and stuff. Yeah, I'm going to have to put some pasties on PB because You know, I show it off if I did realistic nipples and areola and stuff, and YouTube fucking strikes the channel for nudity or some stupid shit. But that's going to be it for me. That's going to be it for me. Maybe I'll talk to you tomorrow, probably. But if I don't worry. I'm doing great. It just means I'm out in the world touching grass and running around and doing other shit. And hopefully tomorrow or the next day or something, Bear will come back. If he don't, I'll have to make a short video for him where I'm just like, Bear, come back. You can blame it all on me. I am sorry. And I just can't live without you. Canadian bro, come back. Any kind of fool could see I was wrong. Or whatever, you know. Maybe I'll have to sing that at him. Like, just truly humiliate myself and him. And then he'll come back and things will be good. I could sing that song to Shadow too. Shadow, come back. I'm sorry I called you gay. I was wrong. And I don't really think you have a garage full of Filipino lady boys. Shadow, come back. Oh, Shadow, I promise not to make you seem homoerotic. You're my bro, and you have nice hair. Yeah, it'll be like that. Anyway, catch you guys later.